Hello everyone, how's it going? We're just going to be hanging out. I'm going to play some Magic and we'll talk about various political stuff. I've left links to Archrags and Oozaloo's channels in the description, so you should definitely check them out. How's it going, chaps?
It's magical.
It is.
Did you guys hear what YouTube is phasing out?
Don't
Videos.
Well, look, it's only a matter of time, let's be honest. For some reason,
it doesn't want to be a video service anymore. It wants to be Netflix 2.0, except shit.
Oh,
You
good
have to be
news for
verified
everyone.
to post a video or a comment or like things.
Ooh.
Without a doubt. But anyway, so Oozaloo, before we started, you were saying that you think there's compelling reason to think that the God Emperor won't just walk it in 2020.
Similar to what I said. What I said was that there was a suggestion.
It was a
that
summary.
Somewhat convincing. But maybe not entirely. Some of the models that I've heard about that are good for predicting presidential success, one that had 7 factors, I think I can't remember what it was called, but one of the primary factors was how well the midterms go. And there was a slight minor blue wave during the midterms, as I understand, as the Democrats predicted, or at least their voters. Now, a model that predicted that blue wave in either the House or the Senate, I can't remember which predicted it very accurately, 42 to 40 in reality, I believe it was, is now saying that Trump won't win.
Well, that's worrying. And
Well, possibly.
thank you, Marax, by the way. But yeah, that's concerning. How much stock do we put in it?
Well, I haven't read the article yet.
All right.
You can do that now. There's a lot of prediction models that will say the opposite, and obviously you can't necessarily trust prediction models in general. Trump is sort of an anomalous case, but it may be, I think one of the things they may have said in here is that the complacency and self-assurance of victory that the Democrats had in 2016 was a colossal factor. That if you remove that, because now they've got Trump, they're very amped up to destroy him in any way they can imagine, that it's not going to go as well for him. It may be that he got in mostly by luck, you never know.
Well, that's true. And Stanley Orr says, for the Emperor. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, well, that's concerning. And the thing is, I do think there is an effect of all the negative media coverage, otherwise they wouldn't do it. So there must be
That's
something
got to be
it.
the majority of his unpopularity is coming from that. Like, there's other reasons not to like him, but as a president, he's generally doing a good job.
Yeah, it looks like he's actually done quite a successful job
He's just
so far.
shaking hands with Kim Jong-il on the border.
Yeah.
You can't say that if you're an evil buffoon.
Yeah, you can't say that's not progress as well. That's the thing, no matter what you say about it.
Well, of course you can say it's not progress. Now, you see, this isn't diplomacy. This is done by Trump, and therefore this is just being overly chummy with the dictators.
Yes. Now, I wanted to bring that up actually because just before we started, I saw a Vox thing that like an infographic. They were saying that she was conservative on was it foreign policy and something else, and I find that very interesting. Conservative on foreign policy, because it seems that the Conservatives are anti-regime change, and it seems that Vox are massive neocon shills. Which is kind of gross.
He didn't used to be anti-regime change, but that seems to have swapped around these days.
Yeah, it's because Trump is anti-regime change, so that's the conservative position. So it's like, right, okay, well, we have to be pro-regime change. It's like, why? Is that
Literally
really?
just whatever the opposite of Trump. We just got to offer something different.
It is, though, isn't it? It's literally just, we're going to do the opposite of Trump. Fuck you. Honestly.
Be reasonable, just be oppositional.
Like, it's partially just because also all of that negative press, they know that at this point, as long as you go against Trump, you will get the support of a lot of the media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whilst their power is certainly waning, it is still definitely a very powerful ally to have for a lot of people.
Yeah, even if someone like Tulsi or Yang gets in, which is unlikely but not impossible, then the Democratic establishment, the media and such, will jump behind them in an instant because it's against Trump, even though they're outsiders.
Well, they'd rather have an outsider that they think is, I guess if they have to choose between one outsider and another, well.
Yeah, they're
two
not
evils for them.
Trump. And, like, Trump is unique in the political landscape when it comes to the sheer just hatred he inspires.
Then again, there's the theory that the media wouldn't mind Trump getting in again because then they get free clickbaity articles for 4 years.
Possibly, but I think they're also very ideologically driven to keep him
Probably.
out, even more so than the profit it might gain them. I mean, fucking look at Google; they're driving their business model into the ground.
Yeah, so if what we're saying is that the media gets a Democrat elected, they're gonna lose a bunch of money and collapse.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Very fun.
Right, let me read out a couple of these super chats a second. Do you think that the right wing and moderates in the US should strike back against Antifa in response to these recent attacks? No, I really don't. And I posted something to this effect on my Facebook page. The reason that communism wins is because it makes the liberal institutions seem like they're incapable of dealing with violence, political violence, which, frankly, in Portland, they are. The important thing that they have to do, and deliberately so, because of the sympathy from within the institutions themselves, what should be really happening next is that the next time Antifa go out and do anything, the police should be all over their asses, and anyone throws anything, a punch, a milkshake, anything, the police should essentially descend on them with truncheons and club them.
Yeah,
into the
just cuff them and haul them away.
Absolutely, totally ruthlessly, and then prosecute them to the full extent of the law. Like, take no shit from them and prosecute for everything they do. And really shouldn't. The institution is vital. You know, it's a thing that exists, and it's going to take action because you are in the wrong. You know, because they are in the wrong, and that's what should happen. Do not just go and do vigilante justice.
Yeah, the answer is just applying the law to the full extent of it.
Yeah,
and also to take some political action as well. Like in cases where the currently reigning political leadership is simply unwilling to take that action, then their political opposition should genuinely look at that and go, how can we actually enforce the law against these people? Because surely this is reckless endangerment at the very least.
Yeah. And so,
there's going to be a point where if the police don't do it, people will feel like they'll have to take it into their own hands.
And also, is there not some sort of Republican mayoral candidate in Portland? Because that person could quite easily make a lot of political hay by standing on this issue and saying, well, listen, right, I don't know when the mayoral election for Portland is, but in the next 2 or 3 years, whenever it is, you know, this is something that he could be making a lot of noise about and should be.
Unfortunately, I think that state is a bit of a lefty cesspool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably why they're operating there.
Yeah, but there's bound to be someone.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like 80-20, but it's probably going to be different than 55-45. But I think like violence in a democracy is not acceptable except in a few circumstances. One of those being self-defense. So if you find yourself up against Antifa and they are attacking you, in the US, you have quite a lot of leniency when it comes to self-defense.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're in a state that allows it, you could carry a weapon.
Yeah, but don't go and attack them or start fights with them or anything like that. If you're being attacked, you of course have your right to
defend your life with appropriate force, but
yeah, because that's a legal.
Don't try
requirement.
to be a hero.
Yeah. But right, hello and thanks for what you do from the US. What's wrong with a little neo-imperialism? Let's just team up instead of fighting each other. Honestly, it's more hassle than it's worth. Trust. I mean, surely the Americans must be learning this by now. Thanks a lot, Tim Cornish. Appreciate that. So if Trump was starting to support Planned Parenthood, yeah, well, good point. Trump. This is why Trump really should come out as trans.
Yeah, just change his pronouns.
He's just like, I love abortion. It's great.
Yeah, mandatory abortions, in fact.
Yeah,
get the feminists arguing against abortions. You know, unironically, there's a judge in the UK who's trying to enforce a mandatory abortion on a woman.
It's the UK. Nothing surprises me anymore about that.
I'll find the link. Hang on.
That is beyond the pale.
You just hang on.
But it's the
this is from the
inevitable,
Catholic Herald, but these are the only sort of places that will report on this kind of stuff with any great frequency. There's probably better sources. I'm just in the middle of a game, so I don't want to.
it's the hilarity of the inevitable spiral of extremity here, where you eventually will have people that are actually arguing for basically an enforced death penalty of kids.
Yeah. Unironically, like, the judges overturned forced abortion ruling, BBC, like 5-6 days ago. Like, have a quick look at that. Just unreal that it's come to this. Forced abortions.
So it didn't go through in the end, then?
No, because they had to fucking overturn it. Everyone was like, wait a minute, what? You know?
Yeah, that got a bit too far, I have a feeling.
State
Forced
mandated abortions. Fucking hell. Are you serious? Like, that is just, honestly, I can't even say it without laughing because it sounds ridiculous. Like, fucking, and that's actually something we have been discussing in 2019 and nearly came to that. Like, the ethical state has to stop. It really fucking has to stop. This fucking, we can engineer a perfect society. Because it's getting to the point where we're mandating abortions. It's just, it's got to stop.
That the Peterson quote I read out earlier? I think it's a really good quote. It summarizes the social justice warriors perfectly.
Which one was it?
I can read it again if you want.
Yeah.
If you have a comprehensive explanation for everything, then it decreases uncertainty and anxiety and reduces your cognitive load. And if you can use that simplifying algorithm to put yourself on the side of moral virtue, then you're constantly a good person with a minimum of effort. Now, in Jürgen Panderson's case, I took this as an advocacy of the Nazis, but in the real world, he's describing people who are extreme moralists. It's the kind of thing that I have in the past talked quite strongly against. That, you know, there is a place for morality in our society, but there are places that people use it excessively where it's completely inappropriate and harmful.
Ironically, it's actually still advocacy for the Nazis.
Well, it could be advocacy for almost anyone, that.
Well, yeah, or communists or whatever, you know.
Real fascism has never been tried.
Yeah. But as levels of state control go, man, that is fucking just way too far. And I can't be the only person who thinks this. You know?
Would the Nazis have called for forced abortions?
Well, yeah, I think they would have done as eugenicists.
Well, okay, for particular people, but not just for a random woman.
Well, no, this wasn't just for a random woman. This was
damaged fetuses, definitely.
This was for a particular woman. No, she had learning difficulties, so she had like a mental age of 9, and so the judge was like, "Fuck it, do it." And it's like, what? Hang on a second, man. Like, I don't think you can just do that. And the thing is, there was like a grandmother or whoever who's perfectly happy to raise the child for her. You know, so it's not like the child actually had to be killed. You know, there was someone willing to adopt it in the immediate family. Come on, that's surely a sensible.
It sounds to me like the judge was trying to do a progressive murder.
Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
I'm not pulling the trigger, it's
so
okay.
progressive if I kill this child. The landmark case. Are we the guy who killed a baby?
Well, the thing is, that they were debating up to point of abortion deaths, a point of birth abortions even. I don't even know where that went. You know, did they get that or not?
Not sure.
There was a fucking like mayor or something who was advocating for it. It was mental.
Yeah, there was a lot of that being talked about. I think actually abortions have occurred in the US after birth.
How is that an abortion? Is not an abortion by definition a fetus?
Yeah, you can't even pick up it's not a baby and it's
Wait,
a fetus
are you
when it's
assuming that
inside.
we're going to try and shift definitions to justify things?
It's still a fetus unless it's been accepted by the mother.
Yes. Unless it's entered, high school or something, it's basically a fetus.
And what age does this go to? Because I can think of a few people I'd like to abort.
Watch for the Democrats to legalize abortion up to the age of 16 and legalize voting down at the age of 12.
We'll just call it a 4th term abortion.
Fucking child voting. That's another just utterly bonkers
genius idea that'll get the Democrats' votes. How else are Labour going to win, Arch, if they don't have children voting?
Look,
let's take people.
Bringing in millions of brown people. That's not going to work anymore. Now we have to have a different strategy. Other than, of course, just having the right politics and having good issues and saying what the people want.
No. We're going to get them when they're children and don't understand any better. That's what we're going to do.
We're going to be.
That's why 2/3 of our teachers are Labour voters, you know? It's actually what they do.
And probably more than that are social justice inclined.
Probably. Wow, that guy quit easy. For anyone watching, I don't know why that guy just dumped it. I thought he was going to kick my ass. I guess he didn't have any dragons. Anyway, sorry.
A counterpoint being raised in the chat.
Oh yeah, go on.
Apparently, a woman is being charged for murdering her fetus in Alabama. I think it goes without saying that we are all pro-choice.
To some degree.
I don't know, actually. Maybe not. But no, obviously, for me, it's not pro-abortion in the slightest. Abortion is bad, okay, and I would say only up until a certain early point in the pregnancy. But I think the choice of the mother up to a particular point outweighs the life of what is essentially more so a cluster of cells than fully existent human.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. You got a small window at the beginning, and after that, well, it's too far.
Yeah, if it takes you 9 months to decide, then, well, in that case, maybe you shouldn't be a mother anyway. But...
So state-mandated abortions. We finally got there. You're not allowed to be a mother because you're too stupid, which is literally this guy's argument. Fuck.
No, not state-mandated abortions. That's awful. State-mandated adoptions. That's way better.
Is it?
What level of progressive are you at, my dude?
I am joking, but...
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm just like, fuck, man, where does this go? You turn me into an ANCAP.
No, they might get, like, now that it's been overturned, they say, okay, fine, we won't kill it. We'll just give it to another pair. We'll just give it to someone. You'll be fine with it, right?
Yeah, you get the knock on your door and there's some guy there with a baby. It's like,
I don't think I like the idea of just giving it to someone. Let's have a lottery. Let's do a little bit of fun and games with this.
A lottery? Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not just,
and you don't get to choose whether or not you're participating. There should be a surprise for all the family.
This is how the refugees should have been done, but literally only for the people who advocated for it. I swear to God.
All right, so let's explore that idea. Is being a white male going to increase or decrease your chances of getting a forced adoption?
Forced adoption.
Yeah, God, now I have to adopt someone.
Forced to give up your baby. The person it's given to is forced to take it. It's a mutually forced adoption.
We should also widen the definition of child a hint here and increase immigration.
That's right. Yeah.
This is Ahmed. He is 23 from Syria.
Well, that's not widening the definition. That's the normal definition.
He is 17.
Sorry, let me go through some of these super chats in a second. Well, actually, I'll finish this game, then I'll go through the super chats. But yeah, so okay, I take it we're basically all anarchists now. Because I'm genuinely uncomfortable with the idea of like the state doing all this stuff now. And I was thinking about this.
Well, it only follows. If you're against mandatory abortions, the only alternative is a total and complete anarchist. There's no middle ground. When the state
does things, that's socialism. But when the state doesn't do things, that's anarchism.
Yes.
Which one are you?
Pick one.
Seriously though, it is going way too far though, isn't it?
Like, yeah. Well, maybe this is a good opportunity for our civilization entering a very turbulent time to explore some really out there issues so we don't have to do it again for another 100 years. It seems like too much at once, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does seem. It seems wiser to not do it all at once.
It seems like one of those periods in human history where either we succeed or fail, like either we Roman Empire or we don't. Or we Greeks or we don't.
I'm getting a lot of we don't from the vibe at the current moment.
This could be the period in history where we have had the Roman Empire and it's time for the barbarians to come in.
Yeah.
Well, the barbarians were already in, I'm sorry to say.
Who will be our Charlemagne?
Good question. Right, okay, so if you want to beat the left, you need to cause a paradox so it makes people on the other side see their hypocrisy. The left idolizes people like MLK, practice self-humility. Eventually people will see what they're doing is wrong. Fingers crossed.
I'm not sure they idolize him enough. Like, that sounds a bit weird, but no, I've brought up to them the I Have a Dream speech.
Yeah.
I brought up to them the I Have a Dream speech, and they're like, okay, but yeah, here's this part where he talks about something that sounds like intersectionality. It's like, okay, but could you notice the part where he explicitly advocates for colorblindness?
He rejects it explicitly,
speeches?
Yeah. But
no, he advocates colorblindness, but doesn't.
Yeah. Which is a rejection of what they're suggesting. And
colorblindness, or as I call it, the ultimate racism.
Yeah, well, essentially, and they tend to veer towards the fucking Malcolm X wing anyway, don't they? You know, that he's the guy I see getting venerated a lot these days. But let me read a couple of these. Brzezinski says, I think a lot of people like me fall under the camp of, I was pro-choice until abortion was used as an unrestricted contraceptive alternative. Dude, that is exactly how I feel about it.
That's a fair point.
Like, so I actually completely agree with Hillary Clinton. It's like safe, legal, and rare. That's the ideal situation, right?
It's a good summary.
And that was Clinton.
The amount of birth control methods that women have, especially compared to men, and they can't even decide in under 9 months to get this thing out of their body.
There's a morning after pill, man. If one day you have sex, just the next day go and get a morning after pill. Is it really that hard?
Well, that's assuming that a woman should have to take responsibility for something, which is misogyny.
You fucking bigot.
Yeah,
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, but like rather than taking a pill every day and making sure you don't get pregnant, why don't you just take the pill after to make sure you don't get pregnant? So every single time, it just seems like a much easier way of doing it. There must be a downside.
A lot of hassle. That's really difficult.
Taking one pill the day after I have sex? That man. Oh.
Men
go straight
don't
to my
have
thighs.
to do that. The men can
condoms
get
are really easy and don't get in the way or anything.
So
there's no pill, as far as I know, that's been approved that gives men anything like this ability. And once they have,
they are rolling something like that out.
I heard that they were working on it, but I heard it had a lot of side effects, way more than the female pill did. I'm not aware that there is one on the market, but at the very least, it's not something that has been on the market at least for a while.
Let's have a quick look.
Right.
Your dick randomly shrivels up and falls off.
Yeah, shit.
I mean, the early days of female birth control.
This is the future the feminists want.
Had some really bad effects.
Unironically.
Yeah. But, we haven't even got a male birth control pill. Or male impregnation control pill, I guess.
Well, to be fair, the female one has side effects too.
Yeah, but less than the experimental male ones do.
Well, there's one. I don't know whether that does or not. But yeah, so yeah.
You just go for clearing the porn spammers?
Much appreciated, dude. Hypothesis. JF was probably the father of that baby. Hey, the baby, as far as we know.
That's called love, you idiot.
I wouldn't even fourth term abort you. Exactly. Your family will
fourth term abortion. Let's legalize it.
Your family will start to get concerned when you shout state mandated abortion. Don't worry, I'm out in the garage and they can't hear me.
Okay, so we have birth control pills that have been approved now, according to this article. But like, how long ago did we have the female one, and how long ago, by comparison, the male one?
Interestingly, about 2,000 years ago, there was a plant called I think it's siliphium or something like that that grew along a particular stretch of North Africa, and the Romans harvested it out of extinction to extinction. But it was
they were fucking
no, seriously, it was a contraceptive, and then Rome fell mysteriously. Who knows why?
And then, for no reason at all, Rome fell.
Rome fell.
Everyone voted for Visigoths.
Yeah. Mighty Balzac. Killing babies is a privilege, not a right.
Your privileges can't be taken away from you. Yes, indeed.
That's. Do you think we should use our football hooligans to combat Antifa? No.
No.
I don't think of it as a war. Think of it as well. I mean, like,
no.
Do you guys agree?
Think of it as a. Sorry, go on.
Do you guys agree with the petition to make them a terrorist organization?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sure.
I agree too, because they literally are, and it's also beneficial to do so because they are destroying shit, and the police aren't doing anything about it. So if the Portland police are once again called off, surely there's something Trump can do against the belligerent mayor.
Yeah, and there are people out there who are like, we have to defend our city against this roving band of villainous bandits, essentially. There are going to be people out there who they'll do it. They'll absolutely do it. They'll look at Antifa for what they actually are, and they'll see the blood in the streets and go, somebody has to do something. The police aren't protecting us.
Well, no, it's
if
true.
It really does go on like that, and the state becomes essentially a non-democratic society, then that's the point at which you could justify it.
It's the end of the rule of law.
I
That's
agree.
the problem.
Yeah, there's a point.
Like it's literally the end of the rule of law when you've got Antifa like just dominating the streets and forcing people to do stuff, and then assaulting them if they stand up to them, and taking their license plates and stuff like that. It's like, dude, you like, seriously, you've got to do something about that, and we should literally have the state come in and truncheon a lot of them.
Because there will be one of these guys out there who's, got his, guns and his flags and everything, and he will take things a step too far, and there will be dead Antifa on the streets because they all got shot by this dude who's defending his city.
And you know what's going to happen with the media then? They'll ignore the hundreds of injured and dead that Antifa have created and they've ignored in the past, and they'll focus on the 1 or 2 Antifa that have been killed whilst violently rioting.
Well, that's what they do with the Charlottesville guy, as if anyone's on his fucking side.
He got a life sentence
recently, yeah, good. Like, you run people down and kill people, yeah, you get a life sentence. Like Antifa, you beat people, you get whatever proportional sentence for that, for fuck's sake. Why is this so hard?
I'm willing to agree if that is what happened, and because the court said that, I can more so accept it. But there was video footage of them attacking his car. Perhaps he did panic.
I don't know.
If the court case has concluded that, I can at least somewhat trust it. Depending on what state it's in, actually. If it's a particularly democratic state, I have a bit less trust in it. But yeah, if he really was doing something that bad, of course. If it was literally murder, then
but
this
is the point.
Murder is life sentence or death.
Yeah, but this is the point. I just want them to be treated proportionally to what they've done wrong.
Yeah.
And Antifa are doing lots of things wrong that deserve to be treated in a particularly proportional manner. And when I mean proportional, I mean serious. Like you've got to show them that this is not an acceptable thing to do.
Yeah. So it goes in general. Like the people on the left and the right will tell us that we're not condemning the other side enough. The problem for them is that we just have principles that allow us to condemn people correctly. So just for the avoidance of doubt for the left-wing whiners who will tell us that we're only condemning Antifa, it goes for everyone. If they're doing violence outside of the permitted circumstances, which are not many, then the police have to be called in. They have to truncheon them. And if they've committed a crime, they should be punished.
Yeah.
That's what liberalism looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Stop doing things wrong. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Stop being communists and calling yourself liberals.
Yeah, you fucking communist scum.
It's for your own safety.
That is our word.
Yeah,
you can either be beaten up by a trained professional peace officer, or you can get beaten up by an angry, howling mob. Your choice.
Yeah, it was the Spanish police you most were impressed by, wasn't it, Arch?
Oh, the baton handling. They know how to really benefit off the rebound. They smack that baton off a demonstrator's skull, and they use that ricochet to set up for the next blow. It's fucking art.
There really is an art to it, yeah.
There is. There absolutely is. It's an underappreciated art.
Especially where Antifa is involved.
Right. Okay,
Antifa doesn't believe that there should be police, so prove the effectiveness of the police by arresting them all.
Yeah, that's a good point. They'll be like, well,
it's
actually,
about your pride.
Yeah, the police are doing an effective job now, aren't they? And they're like, well, yeah, I kind of am forced to agree that. Right. Okay. So Darth Gavel, 1984. Yeah, the only thing George Orwell got wrong is it was too soon. Thank you, Devo, and thanks, Crusader. He's like, it's infuriating as a US citizen watching commies get away with assault in my country. Dude, I totally,
it infuriates me.
Yeah, dude, I totally feel you, right? And the way I've been trying to explain this to people who don't pay attention to any of this is like, look, this is like nails on a fucking chalkboard, all right? It's just this constant, like, these little shits are getting away with it when they have... It's so crystal clear why you should send in police to actually do something about them. It's just like... there's no excuse. There is no fucking excuse for this.
Do we know if they're only getting away with it in the States with permissive mayors and leadership?
Well, yeah, because, what was it, Berkeley was very similar.
It was.
The police were doing virtually nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, there's footage of them doing exactly nothing.
Yeah, exactly, there is, yeah.
So Berkeley is in California, I think?
Yes. Yeah.
And is Portland also in California?
No,
Oregon.
It's Oregon.
Oh, okay. They're nearby. I assume they're both democratic
close.
states.
Yeah. And the thing is, Portland's a bit of a mecca for progressives. They deliberately move there.
Yeah. It's the hipster town, as far as I understand.
Yeah.
So those are two places where Antifa are basically safe from the law.
Yeah.
Anyone in chat know of any others?
There probably are some in some areas of New York or something, probably.
Yeah.
Right, the Dems could run a literal cup of water and still win in those far left areas. Their hate for Trump dominates everything else, including sanity. Correct.
Yeah.
If
There's
you
no
want,
possible way in the next 5 years that those two states we just mentioned go red. No possible way.
yeah, no, obviously,
Even after Trump.
yeah.
Yeah, but this is that golden opportunity to begin that process right here.
So Sadiq Khan virtue signaled about a recent stabbing, the recent stabbing, sorry.
He wishes he did
I
it?
guess, which is why the clump of cells was saved, but the woman wasn't. Late Rome. So I saw the headline for this, but I didn't take the time to look into it. But apparently, a pregnant lady was stabbed to death, and good stuff.
Just part of living in a big city.
Yeah, part and parcel.
Part and parcel of having a high-risk abortion in the big city.
Yeah.
Fucking, what a fucking horrible fucking
The
city
funny
London
thing
has
about
become.
it, Sadiq Khan lives in a big city, and this has never happened to him. Isn't that weird?
Oh,
Really
weird.
really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But
Sprinting cerebellum.
yeah, it's man. I'll get this thing up so I can give you the details. Hang on. 10 hours ago. Here's a link to the thing. It's awful.
That's saying Charlottesville police were stood down as well.
Oh, really? That's
What
interesting.
state is Charlottesville in?
It's almost like there's a pattern developing.
Anyone know?
No, I
We've
don't.
got a Canadian, a Norwegian, and 2 Brits, so I'm afraid we don't. Chat will tell us.
Yeah, what's wrong with your Google? University of Virginia. So it's in wherever that is.
I was drinking, I couldn't Google. Also, chat will be
Virginia.
quicker. Virginia.
Yeah,
Virginia.
but right, okay.
I thought Virginia was a red state.
Yeah, but it's a university
remember.
town. Like this area is a university area.
I see.
Mussolini 2.0. Let's create another Roman Empire. Oh God, obviously not. Unironically, repeal the 19th Amendment, please. What's the 19th Amendment?
It's the one about
women can vote.
voting.
Oh, really?
that does sound like a pretty fucking bad idea.
Yeah, things did start going down the shitter.
It does get a bit tiring sometimes pretending to advocate these extremely authoritarian positions, but we're going to keep at it anyway. Yes, repeal the 19th. Women voting was a mistake.
As
Thing
is
is,
clearly
though-
demonstrated by the numbers.
The thing is, though, I could probably make arguments for like a few ages and property-owning classes being a mistake too, if we're going to go
It's
down
an
that road.
aristocracy, though.
Yeah, and I should be in it.
And there we have the reasoning of every aristocrat in history.
Exactly. Look, I have the numbers, right? We're going to do this aristocracy scientifically.
Every socialist thinks they're going to be on the throne.
But there will not be throne, comrade. Everyone will be equal.
Yeah, except the administrators.
No, we'll abandon equality and just go back to aristocracy, I think.
It's clearly not working.
Right, so yeah, I recall that you supported the Justice Democrats back when you and Kalinske had open dialogue. Obviously, you're not a fan of AOC. What's your idea of a Justice Democrat you would support versus AOC? I can't think of any prominent ones that I particularly like. They seem... I mean, I warned when they were starting this that this is going to turn into the social justice Democrats if they aren't very, very, very strong against it. And Kyle was like, oh, no, it won't become the SJW Democrats, and they're the SJW Democrats.
It wasn't hard to predict, really.
No,
Yeah,
it wasn't, but I still approve of the idea of getting big business out of politics from, like, unlimited donations and stuff like this. But yeah, it's just... I told him they'd become shit.
We know why Tulsi hasn't aligned herself with them. Is she anti-social justice?
Yeah, exactly. Is Tulsi actually a Nazi? Obviously, the
This
answer's
is
correct.
not a black or white proposition. But I'm curious if she's ever made a statement on it. Like, is she anti-public?
They seem like nut jobs. I'm sure she doesn't want to be part of that. She's remarkably level-headed, man.
Yeah, she is.
I really
A rare and
like
beautiful
Tulsi.
thing on the left these days.
Yeah, she's the last good thing on the left. Completely.
You'll find a surprising lack of her hating on Trump on all her
Yeah.
feeds.
Yeah.
Her policies are not just I dislike Trump.
She's got other things to say. It's amazing.
Yeah. I dislike Trump, and here's some extremely radical, quote-unquote, progressive policies like murdering babies after they leave the woman.
Baczynski says, weren't women in the 60s advocating for the pill, though? All those daily responsibilities sound hard with these rights. Men, lol, you what? Yeah. I tell you what, the thing that annoyed me the most recently was, who was it? Stella Creasy, the Feminism's About Power SJW Labour MP. She's a wild SJW as well. And she's literally complaining that women have the choice of becoming, like, MPs or deciding to take time off to have a family. And she was like, why can't I do both? And it's like, because you've got a fucking full-time job as a representative.
Why can't I be poor and a millionaire?
Yeah, it's just like, and then she's complaining that she's being oppressed by choice, and it's just like, fuck off, dude. Like, you're one of the most privileged people in the fucking country. You are an MP. You are saying, well, why don't I just get paid to do this job, even if I'm not at this job, and someone's doing it for me? I should have, like, oh, dude, it's so fucking annoying.
I wonder if her annual income is different from her MP salary. Yeah, like, it seems that these people who talk so much about equality don't just ignore it, but they want the exact fucking opposite. Like, if you are asking, why do I have to have a choice between these two things? And you don't instinctively ask, well, do men?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, but they fucking don't.
Yeah.
So, like, for us, I think it's completely natural to ask about the other side to make sure that we're not hypocrites. But for these people, either they're so fucking power crazed that they don't care about equality because they know they can get their bullshit through on the back of absolute sympathy, or they're just too stupid.
Honestly, I think they've been living in a bubble of privilege, and they don't understand that what they have is privilege. I mean, it's true, that privilege does tend to be blind to those who have it. Well,
well, I'm a woman, so what I have can't be a privilege.
Oh, it's a good thing we've defined ourselves as oppressed, really. Here's a paradox. The left cares about climate change on the 1%. It's real, and we need to save the Earth. The right cares about the Second Amendment on the 1%. We need a revolution. I don't see why that's a paradox.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
The left cares about climate change on the 1%. It's real, and we need to save the Earth. The right cares about the Second Amendment on the 1%. We need a revolution. Sorry, I'm not seeing it.
It's not clear what the actual meaning of that dual statement is.
Yeah, but thank you, Michael and Gimblefoot. We need the Magnificent Seven. Right, that's a samurai film, right?
No, that's the Seven Samurai. Magnificent Seven are the cowboy version.
Right, okay, right. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Same concept, though.
Yeah.
It's like 13 Samurai.
And thanks, Compass Rose. Right, what else has been going on?
We have a few more links in the...
oh, shit. There are loads more super chats, sorry. Sorry, I hadn't refreshed it in ages. I don't know if anyone else has looked at this, but Democrats say that Hillary won the popular vote, but the popular vote was neither the candidate was worth voting for. 6% of the US voters didn't vote. Hillary won nothing. It doesn't even matter. What difference does it make?
No, I'm still with her. We can still get her in. Don't give up.
Whenever someone talks about the Electoral College being abolished, I always ask, do you live in a city by any chance?
Miraculously, they do every single time, I bet.
Yeah, you'll find.
Yeah, well, what a shock.
If you're looking for more articles like on this, 3 more that we haven't looked at yet, just under the Trump article in Symposium.
Oh, well, do you wanna read one out?
Can you? Do you want to do some more super chats first?
Yeah, we can do that. Unfortunately, the morning after pill is actually a massive dose of regular birth control, so it can actually be harder on a woman's body than regular daily doses. Fair enough. I knew there'd be some disadvantage.
I guess she can't be a skank then. What kind of oppression is that?
Yeah, I'm being oppressed by nature. Portland is a shithole country. Google won't let me swear, it seems. Google is obviously biased in favour of fucking Portland. I typed Sargon of Akkad in the search bar and your channel came up, but none of your videos. How long do you think they'll outright axe your channel? Oh, it's only a matter of time at this point, man. Like, I think we all know that they will.
Worth noting on the topic of birth control that while women can make sure that the man is wearing a condom before they do anything, The man can't make sure the woman is going to take a morning after pill the day afterwards.
True.
Nor can he make sure that she won't accuse him of rape and get him imprisoned for decades.
Also true.
Yeah, but should the man have that kind of power over a poor, innocent woman's?
This is what I mean by it's tiring to just keep doing the authoritarian thing.
Thanks, Will. Vox is calling for leftists to arm themselves. Oh, fucking really? Where?
Oh boy,
The
that'll
last time
speed up
Democrats were
escalation by the other side.
pro-gun, burning crosses and wearing hoods. Yeah, I'd be a bit worried about the Democrats arming up. They do seem a bit nuts.
Funnily enough, I've been reading this book about General Ulysses S. Grant of the U.S. Civil War.
Yeah.
He became president after the Civil War, and he oversaw Reconstruction, where he attempted to give Black Americans the right to vote and live without being beaten by the Ku Klux Klan. And the Democrats worked really hard to avoid that happening. And the tactics they used was lying, manipulation of the press, constant attacks on the currently sitting popularly elected president, and arming the populace in so-called rifle clubs and saber clubs.
Good news, everyone.
History repeats itself.
Yeah, I'm a left-wing anarchist. Guns aren't just for right-wingers. I suppose.
Well, it's convenient for us.
Yeah, I mean that's completely true, but no one was questioning it, were they? Like that was what the gun lobby's argument was. Everyone has the right to own a gun.
You know what? It's all the right doing the violence in the US. Like one potential murder with a vehicle, like that's way too much in a country of 360 million. Meanwhile, the violent mobs that assemble to do violence with chemical warfare all across the country, but mostly in areas where conservatives are likely to be more oppressed than in other areas, they're the ones that need to defend themselves with firearms. Just
And it's
skip
luck.
straight over bricks. Skip
It's
straight
luck
over
is
bricks
the
and go to
reason why
firearms.
I haven't killed anyone. It's not a tactic. It's they were lucky that all those people that they've beaten up haven't died. It's just sheer luck.
But it is, unironically. I mean, like, the crowbar one was fucking brutal. Like, literally, you see him just whack on top of the skull with his fucking crowbar. It's like,
The bike lock.
yeah, that was brutal too.
That old man was a fascist. He had to die.
Yeah, awful lot of fascists around these days, apparently.
Didn't even need to go to the next thing above milkshakes to get to fucking crowbars. Although I guess the cement was the next thing, but like they're saying, yeah, it won't escalate. It won't escalate. Very next day, Tommy Robinson assaulted with bricks in the UK by Muslims. It's worth pointing that out, maybe. And now there's cement being mixed in, which is, as I understand, extremely alkalinic, so very damaging to the skin. And he's now got hemorrhage, I think. And now they're advocating for them to bring firearms just in case they need to do a bit of.
Oh yeah, I tell you what, if there's one thing I
Preemptive
trust,
self-defense.
it's one of these insane leftists with a gun. That's I can't think. I mean, they're going to be so rigorous about testing for fascism. I just like it's honestly, it's such a like they
The
are
test will
actually
be: was he shot? Oh, he was a fascist.
they're just in the
Orc
process
way
of
of doing things.
they're just in the
Now, before
process
you
of
shoot-
radicalizing though. Like that's all they're doing. This is what this is, helping
before you
radicalize
shoot-
people.
We'd like you to answer this 20-question questionnaire, which we will determine whether you are a fascist. If you answer wrong, you will die.
I mean, the thing is that people keep also forgetting, like, Antifa isn't just a terrorist organization. They are an armed militia currently basically waging war in the US. That's not
Against
that's not
the
a good
US
thing.
People.
It's going to end badly. We tried this in Germany.
So do we essentially have a minor civil war in the US right now?
Yeah, I'd say that Antifa's putting them into one.
Antifa
sure
needs
they
to
wouldn't be too
seriously
upset
remember
with
which side actually has all the guns in this country before so one of them gets hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they're telling their people to arm up.
I mean, tactically speaking, not a bad idea. Like, hey, we seem set to start a civil war. Maybe we should arm ourselves.
But guns are bad. The great
That they are.
Antifa schism of 2019.
Right, okay. I live in California and it's double plus good here. It sounds great. I have always assumed after 2016 elections the violent fools on the far left were out on the street with bait. The left is confounded by our unwillingness to take the bait and beat these shits in en masse. Yeah, basically, yeah, I think in a lot of ways they are essentially trying to bait people. Boston is another safe space for Antifa. Austin TX, I heard, is a Democrat enclave. Jesus. I've heard that as well, Brzezinski. If Trump were to hold a rally in Portland and the FBI and Secret Service would take jurisdiction, they could bypass the mayor and local police. Yeah, but they'll only be there temporarily. Oh, fuck's sake. The city of Vancouver in Canada is pretty bad libs, but only in certain areas. Like people in the metro areas, further from the main downtown core, very wildly, but downtown is very liberal to the core. Looking forward to finally seeing you and Tim Pool in Philly/Jersey. Anything special planned? Have you heard rumours of Milo's surprise appearance? It's the Minds IRL event, and yeah, it'll be good, man. Looking forward to it. New York City, Philadelphia, Baltimore, DC, Seattle, Boston, all of California have people like this. Chris Chan lives in Charlottesville, enough said. Oh dear. End women's suffrage. They've suffered enough. You know, that's a good slogan.
Discordia is saying that... sorry, go on.
I bet you could take that around college campuses and people who didn't know what it meant would completely sign that petition.
And then you can put it between a couple of Hitler quotes that sound social justice-y, and they'll go along with that too.
We are socialists. End women's suffrage.
Discordia has mentioned that acid mixed with wax, so it can't be washed off, is their next...
Oh, fucking
is Antifa's next tactic.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think I've ever found people as hateful as this. Like, as I said to Disco the other day, like, you can take a murderer or even a mass murderer, and there is something about them that's not as bad as these people.
Yeah. This is genuinely just evil.
Yeah.
Like,
this is the what's it called? Is it moral something hypothesis, where if you think that you're doing things good, then you can do things bad, and they think they're the best fucking people ever to live.
Yeah, it's permissiveness.
Yeah, moral permissiveness theory. It might be that.
Yeah, however, whatever it is, but like, fucking why are there so many awful people? Like this whole thing. Whenever you hear them talking, they just talk as if they're trapped in Nazi Germany, and I'm just like, you guys are fucking lunatics. Unironic lunatics. Philadelphia, 2 off-duty Marines were assaulted by Antifa a few months ago. It's a fairly friendly town to leftist ideals. Jesus. Funny thing about the 19th Amendment, President Wilson was incapacitated when he signed it. His wife was handling most of his responsibilities. 2 + 2.
2 + 2 equals you cannot trust Wammonses, ever.
Hey, look, I disavow. Isaac Nichols, thank you. I live close to ODU, which is as left as you could think, and in Virginia. It also has a thing called the Virginia is for Lovers, as a welcome to Virginia thing. Did you think Tulsi did well in the debate? Yeah, I did think she did well. Ironically, if Hillary won, none of this censorship and commie crap would be happening. Yeah, it would be at war, but your YouTube channel would be safe. Man, that is a good point. that's probably true.
It's been a lot less fun, though.
We voted for the wrong person.
Yeah, we should have voted tactically for our own entertainment.
Yeah, for our own benefit. Yeah, not what's right. Yeah, that's
not entertainment. Yeah, for benefit. Just keep the communists contained. Well, maybe it's best that it comes to a head. It was probably going to eventually.
Like, come on. If we'd voted for Hillary, do you think the bloody hawk Hillary would fucking stand by whilst this was happening in the streets?
Depends if they were helping her.
I think they would be making her look bad, because they would make her look like she's just losing control of the country.
Well, doesn't Trump look that way?
He does, but he's Trump. Like, I think most people who are against Trump say, like, oh, yeah, this is terrible. Everybody who's with Trump or just neutral is like, yeah, these are children that are just revolting because Trump specifically.
Yeah.
He should beat them, though.
Thank you, Socialisms for Figs. We looked at it as well. Tim Pool just covered the Vox article. I came straight into this live stream from it. Cool, thanks. When will I start making feminist memes? Balance politics with bans. My content's getting quite repetitive lately. Oh, sorry, man. I haven't been paying attention to any feminist memes. Like, they haven't really been that impressive. Like recently, the problem is stuff is actually happening. Like, they're actually doing damage to our country. So it's not like as funny as it looks. I'll do more, man. I'll think some stuff.
Speaking of
say
stuff,
that I'm. Go on.
When is that fucking Crusader things happening.
Which one's
The historical one.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. I am working on it, but I've got so many other things going on at the moment. So I'm away for a week now. But on the plus side, I'll probably have some spare time to sit down and like do some writing while I'm away. So I'm working on all of these things.
Is this another D&D?
No. It's just gonna be a long form video, but it's gonna be a really good one.
Are you going to include the words "all Crusaders are just"?
Tell Rags he's from Burgerland, not Brexitland. All Crusades are just.
Burgerland.
Unfortunately, Ost telcos must have taken it upon themselves to remove BitChute. Really? Apparently, Kamala Harris's family owned slaves. Yeah, I heard that, but I haven't seen any information on it.
Race traders.
I really
Trump-
made that argument, except in their own terms.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's not principled for us to say sins of the father, but because they do it, you
Oh,
can say
right,
that
yeah.
to some of them.
Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, Kamala Harris has got enough flaws of her own, so. Trump wins 2020. There may just be a civil war. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, they're definitely going to be fucking furious. No question of it. You know. So
check this out in Symposium. That's quite the ratio there, my dude.
who's this? Sorry.
Mayor Ted
Mayor
Wheeler.
Ted Wheeler. Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
That's an impressive ratio.
Well, can you read it out? Because I can't actually get up on my screen.
All right. He said, Portland has always been a beacon of free speech. We are proud of that history.
Okay. Yeah.
This has 249 likes. The amount of replies is 6,798.
Wasn't it Portland where they held up the free speech signs?
No, that was Berkeley.
Okay. Well, if it was, what you could say is, historically, not always.
Historically, than it used to be.
Yeah. Until I came into office.
Oh, that is an impressive ratio. That you want to frame that and put it on the wall.
The other tweets are not much better. Third one's 93 likes to 1,030.
What's he saying in the rest of it?
All right, he's saying, but in the last couple of years, some have increasingly used their opportunity to exercise their First Amendment rights as an opportunity to incite violence. Over the weekend, who could that be? Over the weekend, some chose to engage in violence in Portland, which is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. We stand against all forms of violence, regardless of someone's political leanings. Portland officers have the unenviable task of keeping the peace. It's a difficult job, and hard decisions are made in real time. While we continue to learn more about what transpired over the weekend, we will keep you informed. We will do everything we can to make sure that those who have committed violence are held accountable.
Oh, yeah.
Basic lesson in politics. Sometimes all you need to do is present a counterclaim.
Yeah, that's obviously not going to happen. You've had years to solve this problem, you liar.
You've had
Like the
a
idea
good
that
long
the
time
police were just told to
command the
stand
police.
down. Just fuck it. Don't do
Yeah.
anything. Don't worry about it.
Look at Redneck Revolt, lefty militia / paramilitary. I don't know how paramilitary they actually are, though. I mean, it looked kind of more show. I'm waiting for Antifa to attack someone, and then one or more assailants getting shot. The violence is sickening. Yeah, it's what's going to happen, man. There's gonna be some guy who's concealed carrying or something, and we'll just shoot a bunch of them, and that'll be fucking. And they'll be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this happened." I'm like, "Fucking, I can't believe it didn't happen sooner." Like, fucking lunatics, what are you doing? Oh, smash the state. We hate the borders. Oh, shut up, you children.
Oh man, the picture of the Glastonbury sign saying, "We
Oh.
don't see any borders here" on the Glastonbury fence.
Yeah, exactly. Just like when Jeremy Corbyn's like, "We're going to write a message on that wall. Build bridges, not walls." It's like, why are you a fucking wall then? Like, where are your bridges, bitch? Oh, I hate that.
From behind our walled community, we spit at thee.
Yeah, it is. It is. Exactly that, man.
There's people in iron houses throwing bricks.
No need for guns. The left lives entirely in states depending on right-wing states for food, water, and electricity.
Not quite so much with the anarchists. But, I mean, in reality, probably, but they might be more prone to it.
Fun fact, during the first Civil War, it was the South who had all the guns and yet still lost.
They didn't have enough. They didn't have enough infrastructure.
They didn't have enough dudes to
Or
throw
people.
at the other side.
Yeah, they had the guns, but they didn't have the dudes to hold the guns and the infrastructure to feed the armies and keep them stocked and resupplied.
Build a green and blue deck with keywords search and draw. I hate green and blue. It's the worst combination.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah. No need for guns. The left lives in tiny. I know that. Antifa
What
hasn't
decks
killed
I
anyone
like?
because all their weapons are powered, and noodles can't simulate muscles. Yeah, there is a general trend of incompetence when it comes to the left and violence, and I think this accounts for the low kill rate. I don't think it's a lack of desire. I think it's just they're fucking useless.
They're
Give
just
them guns
weak,
though, and
pathetic
that's a
people.
big force multiplier.
Exactly.
Like
yeah,
they
but-
think that being in the group is something, but when they're actually tasked with being violent,
Yeah.
a lot of the times, many of them, well, real violence is it's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard.
From the caliphate formerly known as MN. What's MN?
NN?
MN.
Maybe
Oh,
the US
Minnesota?
state.
Minnesota. Yeah. The
Oh, okay,
caliphate of
that makes sense.
Minnesota. I think you might be overplaying that one, my friend. From the caliphate formerly known as Minnesota, it's pretty bad here. Also, who would sell these idiots guns?
As long as they're not criminals with a clean record,
Yeah,
they have
we
the
have
right
to.
to buy firearms.
And you know these people don't have a fucking criminal record because they're little soft middle class cunts. You know, these people don't have a rough upbringing, which is why they're such fucking larpers and an embarrassment to
Yeah.
everyone around them.
If the authorities let it get that far, if they let armed militias form in their country who will attack people for no good reason, then they're going to lose a lot of cops.
Urgent PSA: baking soda neutralizes most acids. You might, if you think you might be attacked, keep a thick slurry paste in a water bottle to treat exposed areas. That's probably a good piece of advice. When am I coming to Texas? And when are you going to go when you do? Good question. I don't know, but I look forward to coming to Texas. I hear it's very nice. Although
It is.
I might go in the winter at some point because I'm not a big fan of the heat. I'm waiting for Antifa to attack one of the raider gangs in America. That will really start some sort of gun war. Jesus. A lot of lives will be claimed. Well, stuff will actually happen then because it'll be the sons and daughters of the middle class dying. Because if you look at all these kids, then you can tell they've not had any kind of rough upbringing at all.
See, it's because we haven't had a good war in a while.
Yeah,
If we can't regularly bleed the nation of its potatoes, this happens.
As I always say, we're suffering from a long period of lack of existential diversity. It's the same thing as that 4-panel thing with like weak men create bad times.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement. Conscript them all.
Well, I wouldn't go that far because I'm not joining the military under any circumstances.
Yeah, we'll just choose the annoying lefty protesters.
See, you're saying that I'm not joining the military as if you will be given some sort of option in the
Yeah.
matter.
What
That's funny.
What about conscription? Didn't you understand?
If they're going to imprison people because they don't want to be in the military, it's not really a country I want to live in anymore.
Wow, you should have thought of that.
See-
Should have thought about that before communists almost took over. Okay.
Should have thought of that before I was born, yeah.
Yeah.
I have always thought that is a bad idea. Don't imprison them. Just do what the Soviets and the Germans did. Penal battalions, way more effective.
I'm not bad with computers. Give me a fucking tech job and I'll actually do it. Probably, maybe.
Yeah, but will you do it with a kind of gusto and, interest that the United States expect of its cannon fodder?
The real question is, will I do anything with gusto?
Yeah.
We will all be conscripted in the great global war between America and China-Russia.
I'd love to say I'm in a country that's unlikely to get involved, but I'm fucking not.
Yeah, we're all in trouble here. So, we can just accept this.
I can just move to Luxembourg.
I think I'm trying to
Or
get a Swiss
Sweden.
passport.
Sweden's a cool country.
Sweden
No.
is great. The only chances there for war is the civil one.
That they have natural, physical, mountainous borders.
Yes, and on the other side of those
Inherently-
are the
inherently
Norwegians
red-pilled on the borders is
who wants to get Varmland and Jämtland back.
You're making up words again.
I swear to God, if Sweden descends into civil war, we're going to guard those border territories to make sure nothing happens to them.
See, perfect. And we to Sweden. I know, Sargon, you say that there shouldn't be any circumstances in which your country should get so bad that you can't move, or that you should move, rather. And I admire that. But my self-preservation is greater than a 0.
Cuck.
Are you saying that your self-preservation outweighs your patriotism?
Only at the maximum extent.
Cuck. Heard about Siobhan Pregent screaming obscenities repeatedly at a veteran grandfather who's marching to support the UK Trump visit. Google it. I have not heard of them. Service requirements for citizenship when? Yeah, good question. It's the ultimate question, really. When can we stop the worthless types from voting? That's what I need to know.
Wow, bitch. Is this a point where someone in chat tells me that Sweden has fucking, or Switzerland has mandatory service?
Considering how nervous Switzerland is of being invaded and shit, I wouldn't be surprised.
Sorry, I've just got to arrange this block so I don't fuck it up. I think that'll do. No, wait. No, that won't do. Oh god, what am I doing?
Go to Israel. They're a nice, peaceful nation.
See, so what you're saying is there's no good country.
Basically.
All countries suck, I found out.
But especially London.
I'm still stupid. It's even worse. Sorry, I'm just going to fuck this up quickly.
Excuse me. I'm just going to fuck this up quickly.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry,
at least he's
okay.
honest.
Yeah, well, I was just getting absolutely railed. But I don't think it turned out too badly. Yeah, no, it's fine. And I'm going to drive lots of cars. Do you think the reason they want to introduce tight firearms restrictions might be just a ploy to restrict 3D printers and CNC machines, given the increasing access to such devices, and how will it impact corporations? Good question. What do you guys reckon?
I like CNC machines. You can make assault rifles with them, and I think that's good.
So what's a CNC machine? How's it different to a 3D printer?
It's a hell of a lot fucking bigger and a lot cooler. That's basically the difference.
But
There's
it
an
just prints
industrial
stuff
3D
out.
printer.
Right, okay.
It basically stands for numerical control in that you have a giant machine capable of primarily milling out almost any shape whatsoever. So you can technically make practically anything in it. And so making something like an assault rifle is just a question of making the individual parts and then fitting them together.
I've seen massive 3D printing cranes that
These
create
aren't even
houses.
very expensive either. Like I googled it and like they're 200 quid. I mean, there are a few that are like 2,000 quid, but even then, that's not very much.
2,000 quid.
Yeah, but like for a printing machine, doesn't
Oh,
strike
for a printer, yes.
It doesn't strike me as being very much.
Though to be fair, making a gun out of those is going to work poorly.
It depends. You can make simple guns that'll work fine. Just depends. That's where the ingenuity comes in. People will use ingenuity.
Yeah, and people are ingenious as well, aren't they? So you know something is.
Hey, the type who buys one of these things for that purpose, they probably think they can do it.
Yeah,
a lot of them probably
And there is very little control over this, or well, at least over here. So the main family business of ours is a machining workshop. We've got 13 CNC machines. And we got a phone call from the local police who's like, all right, so we see you have these machines here. You using those to make any weapons or anything? I was, no. Okay, then.
All right, keep it up.
That's a good idea. I didn't think of that.
Oh, really? We could do that?
Yeah.
Man, that's great.
That was literally it. They just called and are you doing that? Nope. Okay, well, fuck. Fine.
So, was it you that was planning that review of Moana? I'm psyched if so. That movie has a lot going on beneath the surface. Yeah, Gimble, it is me. I'm just, I'm working on the Demolition Man one at the moment.
You've been working on that one since I was recently introduced to V around the time, I think.
It will be worth it when it's done, just like the Starship Troopers one. Trust me. US cops / military leave. Sorry?
I say Sweden earlier. I always get Sweden and Switzerland confused. No, Switzerland is the red pill.
Yes.
Yes, you did say Sweden.
Yeah, I did wonder what you were talking about, actually.
Yeah.
But US cops/military lean overwhelmingly to the right. Well, what a shock. Thank goodness, and to be honest. I imagine they lean just much more in the direction of the institutions are worthwhile maintaining as well, which is the right one.
A bunch of fascists.
Yeah, what a bunch of Nazis. Hey, I bet the thing is, I bet Antifa legit think that the military is just run by Nazis. I mean, how could they
believe
not?
that all cops are murderers.
Yeah,
If
how
you go
could they
to,
not think that?
If you go to their subreddits, like the Anarchy subreddit, almost every other post is like, yeah, we should kill a cop. Go and kill a cop today. It's the kind of thing that if anyone not on the left did, it would be immediately banned.
Yeah. It's
I think
incredible.
there's an acronym ACAB. I don't know what it stands for, but it means something along the lines
It means
of kill
all
cops.
cops are bastards.
Yeah.
That's
You
what
know,
it
well,
means.
bastards.
Yeah.
At least they use kind of nice language, I guess. You know, they didn't call them cunts or anything like that, just bastards.
Yeah, that would be misogynistic.
Yeah, I suppose so, man.
All cops are Jon Snow.
Hey, Sargon, I remember you said you might be in Boston for the Straight Pride Parade. Are you still planning that? I'd love to meet up. I don't think I will actually be able to go to Boston for the Straight Pride Parade. I already had things on my diary that it conflicts with, but I'm in total support of them having it, and I hope it's a very well-mannered, orderly, and family affair, where it's literally just families walking past. It's like, fuck, man. I think that'd actually have weight. Oh, and in fact, saying that, I found an article on Gay Star earlier that was really interesting.
That's the one I'm trying to read out, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Boston approves permit for straight pride parade. Yeah, can we get the opposite of an F in chat? Campaigners were denied permission to fly a straight pride flag outside Boston City Hall. And
What
now
were
for
they?
the F.
Ah,
Apparently, it's the subtitle.
but they've got a fucking pride flag up, I bet.
Maybe the straight pride flag is maybe a little bit dark looking. It's black and white stripes with a female and male interlocking symbol in the middle.
I don't see any problem
It is
with
a
that
little
at all.
ominous. It's not very colorful.
Yeah, they could have gone with something a bit more.
A bit more
soothing.
prideful.
Flamboyant.
Well,
If they went for pink
it's
and blue,
no,
you've
it's
got
more.
the trans flag.
Oh, that's a good idea. Pink and blue should have been what they went for.
But then it's very similar to the trans flag. All that's got is white.
Oh, no, that would make him so mad.
Yeah, that would make
You
them
could do
really
like
mad.
a-
They should have gone for pink and blue.
That's true.
Because then it's
That
gender
is-
stereotyping as well. Because at the moment it's just binary, black and white, on or off. Which is
Yeah,
obviously
I
what
guess I
they've
think
gone
that-
through.
Yeah, chat appears to think that W and someone's pasted an upside down F are the opposite of F.
What?
So I guess I've just created a new meme.
Okay, good job. But yeah, it should have been pink and blue.
If they'd
Two
used,
genders.
If they'd used a brighter pink and blue rather than baby pink and blue, that could have worked to differentiate.
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, sort of soft baby pink or just pastel colours rather than the bold colours.
Well, colors rather than the tones. So organizers of the parade say the event is meant to celebrate heterosexuals, who they described as America's oppressed majority.
Correct.
And I mean, there's arguments for that.
I know, it's hilarious.
There's not many arguments that the other side of the oppressed minority, really. But I mean, they're just kind of a definition hack because there is no other majority. So if anyone's going to be the oppressed majority, it's the only majority.
Yeah.
But there is some truth to that. But obviously they're exaggerating slightly for effect.
Yeah. But I think through the language of social justice, it's defensible.
Of course. Anything's fucking defensible like that.
Yeah. We're literally not equals because I'm not allowed in those other bathrooms.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
The group calling themselves Super Happy Fun America.
Great name.
Happy Fun
Which is
America.
This is why they need the
PR
pink
choice.
and blue flag, man. Super Happy Fun America, pink and blue flag, just the heterosexual and female symbols interlocked. That's so great.
Unfortunately for me, evokes images of some old YouTube show called Super Happy Tree Friends or something, where it was just utterly violent and gory, and
Jesus.
with the sort of facade of cutesy kids shows.
Ah,
Every
super happy
episode,
fun
someone got beheaded.
treated. That was a good show. That was back in the day when everything had to be like that. Nothing could be straight up anymore. Everything had to have some kind of ridiculous twist to it.
Look, I watched it and I turned out fine,
Well,
arguably. All right.
Yeah, go on.
So they held a press conference outside Boston City Hall following the decision on Thursday. They say they plan to hold the parade on 31st of August, which is a fair way off still. But controversial right-wing political commentator Milo Yiannopoulos is said to be officiating the event as Grand Marshal. Considering that this publication is called Gay Star News, that's not a bad representation of Milo. However, the group were denied their request. Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have done way worse.
Yeah.
Alt-right
However-
Nazi-loving scumbag. Milo.
Yeah, exactly. However, the group were denied their request to fly a straight pride flag outside the City Hall building. Now, if you're going to do one, why would you not do the other?
Go big or go home.
Yeah, Boston. So they've tacked on another letter to the LGBT acronym here.
They must not
LGBT
really care about the gays.
LGBTI rights. I don't even know what I stands for. Intersex?
Intersex, I guess.
Rights groups have indicated that there will be a number of counter demonstrations protesting the event. That's fine, as long as you're not fucking violent.
Yeah.
You want to place bets?
All right, quick segue. Do you think that LGBT is like a gross fraction of the meaning of those words? LGB are the same thing. T is not.
Well, yeah, it's nothing to do with the others. And the
First three are
the
sexuality.
B kind of causes problems for the intersectional types as well, surely.
I'm sure. Well, first off, nothing you do will ever be appropriately intersectional enough.
Well, obviously.
So, are there problems with LGBT? Absolutely.
Is it worth it?
We need to add more letters, including P,
Yeah.
so we can get Joe Biden into the fold.
Oh, boy.
Right.
Poor
Is there anything
Joe.
else interesting in this article?
I'll have a look. The city of Boston cannot deny a permit based on an organization's values. Well, okay, so they didn't have a fucking choice, but they did have a choice with the flag.
Yeah,
So they've been completely rejective at every turn they were able to.
undoubtedly.
We anticipate the counter-protesters will far outnumber those marching. Where is this? It's in Boston.
That just,
Guys,
that
is
just shows
Boston-
how oppressive.
Yeah.
That's true. That just shows how oppressed they are. Lads, is Boston a particularly Democratic or particularly Republican place? I don't think any of you guys know that.
Boston is a lefty's place.
Well, then that kind of makes sense. It's like Trump's inauguration in Washington, D.C., like the leftiest place in the country.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
particularly
it's-
surprised that it didn't have many people.
Yeah, Trump supporters all live a long way away. Oh, they didn't turn up for his inauguration. Well, of course they didn't.
There's literal gay porn on the thumbnails of this site.
What?
Well, it's a Gay Star News? No.
Yeah, you're shocked to hear.
The website is its own pride parade.
Slogan, I'm glad you've got something to put on screen because otherwise I might have broadcast this.
Yes. Will you lot ever get together and do a Warhammer gaming session? Possibly. That's up to Arch.
Yeah.
Is that up to me?
Yeah, because we
up to you.
were playing Warhammer on Tabletop Simulator. Well, you know, obviously, I've got to get my ass stuff together as well. But like, yeah, no, it's good stuff. Warhammer.
You were getting your ass stuffed. That was also true.
That's not true, Sean. Totally not true.
Saigon Discordia is mentioning that you can disable the bots by just disabling links in the chat.
Okay, she's gonna have to tell me how to do it after
She's
this game.
saying that she gave you picture instructions on how to do it.
Yes, I know. She undoubtedly did. Don't get me wrong, she undoubtedly did.
The problem is my girlfriend's just too organized.
She really is.
At least with online stuff.
No, she's awesome.
Everyone in chat give a W for Discordia because apparently that's the opposite of an F.
Have I tried
W.
EDH yet? Only Magic the Gathering format I can stomach nowadays, also Scrantifa. I haven't, actually, to be honest. Great Nerf War of 2020, yes. Minnesota has a ton of Somali migrants. I didn't know that. It's
I have been told this repeatedly
Really?
and loudly.
I had no idea.
I have a racist friend
I guess so.
who's
Yeah, I
also an
think that's
ANCAP.
awesome.
I can't be racist. All my friends are racist.
Hi, Rags, you're a massive.
Hey.
All the W's for Discordia.
Chrissy, Talkie went really well, thank you. We're going to do Birmingham at some point. I'm just away next month. August, yeah. So probably not until September, just because of predetermined calendar events. Happy Canada Day. Which one of you is Canadians? Dev was a Canadian, but he's not here.
Was. He's no longer.
He's no longer a Canadian. Now he's a lolly. We have a voluntary World War III civil war to keep population in check and to give people some sort of reason. Yeah, pretty much. I just wish we'd meet aliens and then find them hostile. That'd solve a lot of problems, I'm sure.
That might not just be population reduction, that might be population eradication.
Don't worry, this time it'll be a quick war.
Okay, so the whole Bob Lazar stuff. Did anyone watch all of this? So we talked about this before. I feel like this was before, but like, has anyone watched it? Like, loads of people want to. Bob Lazar. He was on Joe Rogan.
No, I watched Rem Lazar.
All right, there's this guy called Bob Lazar, right? And he claims to have been an engineer at Area 51. And he was on Joe Rogan recently, and he's got this very like long story, and it's very detailed, and so I think it's quite persuasive. But the thing is, like, there are parts in the Rogan interview where he's asked questions like, "Oh, I don't know, my headaches come back," and stuff like in that sort of way. And I'm like, that seems a bit, sus to me.
Not tonight, honey. My head hurts.
Yeah, but I'll answer these other questions.
As someone recovering from pretty bad food poisoning, where I get a brief headache every time I sneeze, I can totally get on board with that. The guy's just a victim.
Yeah,
victim of bad shellfish.
But there was like in the Washington Post or something the other day was like, we should just accept that UFOs exist. And it's like, okay, well, what does that mean though? Because they, the ones that we're talking about, like the sort of videos of the lights in the sky doing stuff. I mean, that's not.
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy to accept that UFOs don't exist. I mean, what's that? I don't know. Boom, UFO.
Yeah, but like
yes.
the thing
it's literally an unidentified flying object. Yes, those do exist.
But yeah, but the problem is the direct implication of the videos that are being used is that there is some kind of intelligence controlling whatever this is that we're looking at because of the way it moves, right? And so as soon as if we go right, okay, yeah, I mean, obviously unidentified flying objects exist, but like certain ones would require us to accept certain conditions, which I think are not yet supported. So I don't know. I'm just very, very skeptical about the whole thing. But it's interesting how it's like a popular thing in mainstream circles to start accepting this sort of stuff.
I'm open to the idea of extraterrestrials, absolutely. I just don't think I'm just not convinced that they're definitely out there.
Well, the Drake equation is basically an absolute confirmation statistically that they are out there. That they should be out there.
Yeah, just how close they are and how sneaky they are is.
Then of course you've got Fermi's paradox to ask why the fuck haven't we found them yet? Then. Well,
basically because space travel is impossible, essentially. Unless you figure out some kind of fucking black hole nonsense, you just can't do it. It's not going to happen.
Are you a Luddite? Do you believe that the fastest transportation in the city is a horse and cart?
I believe that if you were to travel at the speeds that you would require to cross between fucking just solar systems, literal space dust would blast holes in your ship.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah, but they're going to find some clever dick way of
sounds like somebody doesn't have a lot of faith in the Emperor.
Who has heard of the Alcubierre drive?
No.
It's the first step in warp technology.
Bullshit.
Bullshit? You think it's implausible?
Yes.
No, they'll find some clever dick way. Like what was the film with Sam Neill in it?
Let us fucking travel through space.
Yeah.
Through a literal.
By the way, slight segue for everyone in chat. If you haven't seen Event Horizon, hop to it.
Yeah, it's really good. But basically, they go through the dimension that's like the warp and chaos and whatnot in 40K, and they come out totally mental. And it's like, yeah, so that's that. See, Arch, it's inevitable that's what's going to happen. Technically, the distance might be impossible to travel for whatever reasons, but they'll find some stupid way that unleashes, immortal chaos, and then a god emperor will be required. And so, just accept the prophecy.
Very much an affectation, I think. But you can get white holes, and not black holes. Black holes would be a bit more dangerous. But
Whoa! I
yeah,
disavow.
despite making up 13% of the universe, exactly. But I think they're called Einstein-Rosen bridges, technically, but they are much more stable. So if you could generate one to a set location, you could easily travel there much quicker. Warp space. Funnily enough, Arch. Funnily enough, it's possible to warp space.
Basically, all of this is, we think this is how it works.
Yeah, we thought black holes existed too, and we were almost exactly right.
We also thought that Hillary Clinton would be president.
No,
Not the same thing. All of Switzerland
Fun
is...
fact, though. Traveling through an alternative dimension a la warp would almost certainly be like hell to us, because we would not be able to understand that dimension's existence and laws of physics.
It wouldn't need to be an alternate dimension. All you're doing is like manipulating the third dimension in front and behind of your ship. You're creating a warp bubble effectively by contracting the space in front of your ship and expanding it behind. The early stages of the research into Alcubierre drives said that you would need an amount of energy equal to the planet of Jupiter to create this effect. But then they changed one little thing about it and got it down to like about the same as what Earth currently produces. Obviously a lot, but will improve.
It's a good start.
Simples.
So yeah, all of Switzerland is rigged to blow if invaded, apparently. Service guarantee citizenship, Oozlu, get in line. Move up to the Shetlands. Jesus, man, why? I don't want to move up to the Shetlands. CNC mills, it removes material. Right, I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Milling removes materials, yes. Milling is the act of grinding a material down.
No, I know, but a CNC isn't like a 3D printer, it's a miller. I didn't know that. Well, I didn't.
I explained it to you, Sargon, you little...
Obviously wasn't listening. If those like Oozlu are not willing to defend the Tree of Liberty, are they fated to water it? Good question, Oozlu. What'd you say to that?
At the maximum extent when my life is at risk every day. I'm not a military man anyway. I'm not particularly prone to fighting. I am actually a nerd, unlike these posers.
That's true. You take guns away and we go back to making swords and armor and become knights of the round table. I guess we've got no other choice.
Retake Jerusalem the old-fashioned way.
Backwards F, which was requested earlier, I believe.
I don't know why people pick W as the opposite of F.
I don't know. Straight pride flag is using the Malal colour scheme, makes you wonder. I don't know what the Malal colour scheme means. So it doesn't actually...
The colour scheme is the ISIS flag.
The 40k god of anti-chaos.
I think it's more likely to be the ISIS flag. That's a good point.
No, Malal.
I knew there was something about it making me uneasy.
Well, I mean, it does make me wonder why they have red and black in their flags, the communists all the time. So this isn't exactly a safe-looking colour, is it?
Yeah.
Where should I road trip in the UK for a week in July? Oh, Jesus, man. Never been there and had an opportunity. She's from Minnesota. Any ideas, chaps? Road trip in the UK in July. Probably the southwest, actually. Cornwall's really nice. Pennines, maybe
somewhere
as well.
nice, yeah. Especially during the summer, during massive global warming, if you have an interest in being warm.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of social justice-y places down there, like, what is it? It's not Bristol, it's not Bournemouth, it's the other one that starts with a B. Brighton, that's it. That's pretty gay. But you probably won't get killed there as easily as you would in London. So yeah, just head down the southwest. It's probably the nicest part of the country.
Yeah, Brighton can probably be described as generally safe.
Unlike London.
No, to be fair though, the southwest is actually really safe, and there's really there's cliff top walks you can do, which are all really nice. So you've got great view all the way around.
You like the rustic charm of Britain's countryside. You will like Somerset. You will like Dorset, and go to the White Cliffs of Dover.
Yeah, what's the bit in the very far western tip of Wales called?
Land's End Hotel. Oh, Wales. Sorry, that's England.
Yeah. No, what's the Pembrokeshire? That's nice as well. Okay. I've been walking around all these places. They're nice.
Wait for someone in chat to tell us the closer you get to America, the nicer your country is.
I've been to America. I can refute that hypothesis. Sorry, no. I had the misfortune of going to California. It was awful.
It's your Trustpilot review.
Well, I went to San Francisco and there were a lot of fucking homeless people, man.
Oh yeah, all
What
the
was that?
compassionate lefties.
Homosexuals?
Homeless.
Oh, those two, I guess.
There probably were lots of homosexuals as well. I just didn't notice. I guess I didn't go to enough gay clubs or something.
Chat is saying that PewDiePie lives in Brighton. Coincidence?
I'm hearing talks about straight pride in Brazil. That would be amazing. There should definitely be straight pride in Brazil. And the thing is, like, Brazil's got massive gay carnival. They're not actually gay, but like they're kind of gay looking to an Englishman. So it'd look really out of place, wouldn't it? Have you read AOC's latest tweets about a trip to the migrant camp? She literally accuses Border Patrol of torturing migrants in front of her. No.
Just after screaming at a fence that was just for the parking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
so
believe her. Yeah.
what does she say? Let me get it up. Right. Okay.
They were just doing it out of sheer spite for Alexandria Cortez.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, look, we
like
can do
here.
this."
Look, whilst
have to
I
give our
electrocute
political
this Mexican child.
We just had to give our political opponent loads of ammo for no reason. And then suddenly Trump got elected.
Why didn't you video the torture?
She had
just-
film crews there.
Yeah, exactly. I just can't help but ask myself, why didn't you video the torture? Right. Okay. So I'm just going back a bit to get the full story and the timeline in the right thing. So she's talking about fundraising, and then she says, "We just landed in El Paso last night with several other members of Congress to talk migrant camp facilities. Meanwhile, this is the scene in McAllen, and the scene in McAllen is this looks like a place where people are staying and they're not taken care of. This just broke. A secret Facebook group of 9,500 CBP officers discussed making a GoFundMe for officers to harm myself and Rep. Escobar during our visit, and mocked migrant deaths. This isn't about a few bad eggs. This is about a violent culture." Okay, can someone have a quick glance through this article for me, please, while I go through the next tweets? 9,500 CBP officers sharing memes about dead migrants and discussing violence and sexual misconduct towards members of Congress. Oh, would they not even rape you? How on earth can CBP's culture be trusted to care for refugees humanely? P.S. I have no plans to change my itinerary and will visit the CPB station today. Well, the thing is, saying things and doing things are two different things, Alexandria. Have they done anything? I mean, I suppose that I'm looking for the one where she says they tortured them. There are 20,000 total Customs and Border Patrol agents in the US. 9,500, almost half that number, are in a racist and sexually violent secret CBP Facebook group. I bet this was just shitposting group, right?
Yeah, I bet. Of course it is. It's almost nowadays. It almost certainly is.
Yeah. They're threatening violence on members of Congress. How do you think they're treating caged children and families? Yeah, I don't think they're actually threatening violence, are they? I mean, like, was there any evidence of this? Or is it just memes? Oh, look, it's a meme. Okay. Memes, jokes. Okay, dark jokes. Don't get me wrong. Of the two body, the kid and the dad that washed up.
How many dark jokes do you think we'd find on far left Facebook groups?
Well, we quite a lot
Probably
from
none. They'd all be replaced with actual incitements to violence.
yeah, exactly. They wouldn't be dark jokes; they'd be literal statements. Which is probably why they're misinterpreting these as literal statements. I mean, if this on the P inside the ProPublica thing, if this is it, it's just like. I mean, someone's like, I'm going to brave enough to throw a $10, $15 burrito at one of these bitches. Like, sorry.
No.
Yeah, you guys are milkshaking everyone.
I thought we
beating
established
people.
that throwing food at people is okay and in fact virtuous. I don't understand what the issue is.
Yeah, everyone's allowed to cheer for this, are they not? You know, he's
Yeah.
going to chuck a burrito at you. Okay, yeah, okay. All right. It's, but yeah, so, and then there's one picture of her photoshopped sucking Trump's dick. You can't see it in the frame, obviously, but that's the thing. It's like, okay, these are bad. These are awful memes, as far as you're concerned. We have memes, right? I just left the first CBP facility. I can see why CBP officers were being so physically and sexually threatening towards me. Fucking hell.
Sexually threatening?
It's a Trump meme. Officers were keeping women in cells with no water and had to tell them to drink out of the toilets. Fucking really? This was them on their good behaviour in front of members of Congress. Fucking really? In front of you, the officers were like, you know what? Yeah, we just make those women drink out of the toilets. Fucking really?
In fact, allow us to demonstrate.
Yeah, what? I mean, if they were so brazen about it, why didn't you film it? Again, why wouldn't you film that? Sorry, did you just say they drink...
Sneaky recording.
Not even sneaky, but like, sorry, did you just say this? They drink out of the toilets? Yeah, okay, I'm going to film that. Say that again. You make these women drink out of the toilet, do you? Like, unreal. It's like, I don't believe it. And the thing is...
Go on.
No, just where's the video? That's what I want.
Yeah. There's a lot of good points being brought up by you guys, but for the sake of balance and indefatigable objectivity, it's possible, just very unlikely. Like, I don't want to, lionize everyone who's not on the enemy side, because that's what the enemy does.
But these are memes.
Probably.
It's.
Very
I mean,
probably.
Well, did you look at them?
All right. Well, let's be clear. If they're actually
pictures.
doing terrible things to people, we disavow.
Well, obviously, but like, it's literally like shit posting memes. Like, just look at that ProPublica thing. If this is like the example she's using, it's a Trump meme.
Yeah.
And then it's someone saying, "I'm going to throw a $10 burrito at her." And again, it's, you know, it seems to have been taken in a spirit of levity. And the other one is just a dark joke about someone who's died.
Yeah, it's probably nothing, but just for the interest of balance. There are bad people on both sides.
Of course there are. And you're absolutely right. You know, like, we haven't seen the full thing, blah, blah, blah. But this is the thing she tweeted out, so I assume she thinks this is the thing that's as bad as it needs to be. And to me, this just seems like a shitposting group.
Someone in chat saying no cameras were allowed. Well, she had cameras outside, but maybe they mean inside.
I wonder why that would be.
I do too.
Now I've seen the inside of these facilities, and the thing, would they honestly say it in front of her? Just like, no, we make them drink out of the toilets. Why? But I mean, okay, fine. Let's assume the people working in this one are evil. It's not just the kids, it's everyone. People drinking out of toilets, officers laughing in front of members of Congress. I brought it up to their superiors. They said the officers are under stress and act out sometimes, no accountability.
Bull fucking shit, no accountability.
Yeah, you're there to do it.
You're there.
But like, it's hard to believe they would be this ignorant of the consequences of acting that way.
A good assumption, but there are stupid people on both sides.
After I forced myself into a cell with the women and began speaking to them, one of them described their treatment at the hands of the officers as psychological warfare, waking them at odd hours for no reason, calling them whores, etc. Tell me what about that is due to a lack of funding. Well, okay, but I don't just want to take your word for it, because I think you're a lunatic. Now I'm on my way to Clint, where the Trump administration is denying children toothpaste and soap. This has been horrifying so far. It's hard to understate the enormity of the problem. We're talking systematic cruelty with dehumanizing culture that treats them like animals. Well, if anything that you've said is accurate, then that would be true.
We'd need evidence to believe it.
Yeah, I want the context of denying children toothpaste.
Yeah.
It's also the misuse of words, like, I forced myself into a cage.
Yeah,
these aren't a cage.
Yeah.
They're fucking chicken nets to keep them separated.
But I want to see the proof that anyone has had to drink from a fucking toilet. Like, honestly. They don't have taps in this place.
Well, the guards get to drink out of the really nice toilets.
Apparently there's a Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez threatened the Border Patrol rumor. Let's see the rumor. So Anna Giriartelli, she's a verified checkmark who's a Fox News host apparently from the profile looking at it. Scoop. Cortez screamed at federal law enforcement agents in a threatening manner during a visit to a U.S. Border Patrol facility in El Paso, Texas, and refused to tour the facility according to two people who witnessed it. Right, okay.
Well, now we have the counter-narrative.
Yes, we do,
Which one we believe.
Okay.
Fox News.
Yeah, well, yes, but also Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, who the fuck are we supposed to believe in this? Like, I'm happy to believe that they did nothing wrong, but I'm not happy to believe that they make them drink out of toilets. I don't think that's true. I just don't.
Yeah,
believe
these are the kinds of stories where all of that good faith you've been building up the last X years really comes in handy.
Yeah, exactly. Right, but yes, exactly. So, Border Rancher, we've found prayer rugs out here. It's unreal. Okay, so that was fake news. Right, okay.
Someone in chat saying the sink and toilet are together in a cell. We don't know if that's the case here, but
yeah,
if it's a real cell, it probably is.
Yeah. What's haunting is that the women I met with today told me in no uncertain terms they would experience retribution for telling us what they'd shared. Well, what the fuck are they going to do to them they're not really doing?
They're going to go to super prison.
They all began sobbing out of fear of being punished, out of sickness, out of desperation, lack of sleep, trauma, despair. Now, the thing is, there is the alternative and more cynical side of this, which says, well, they've all got a very vested interest in making up a story like this. And you do strike me as exactly the kind of person who will believe exactly that story. And they were coached on how to do this sort of thing by the caravans that they were traveling on from the organizers.
Yeah.
So
That's definitely plausible.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then if we've got a complete, like, is it plausible that could she have gone down there and started screeching at them? Maybe.
But I get them off balance, yeah. So, I mean,
No,
she
not
wasn't
even-
going to report
no.
on the bad thing she was doing.
No, dude, she's openly calling them concentration camps and saying never again. You know, far as she's, I mean, it does genuinely seem like she genuinely believes that effectively the people she's dealing with are Nazis, and she's claiming that there's dehumanizing and abusing them and, you know, committing psychological warfare against them. Like, I think it's totally believable that she did scream at them, even if everything she's saying here is true. Like,
and the motive was likely because she wasn't going to report on the crazy shit she did, but on the crazy shit the guards did in retribution for her screaming at them.
So CBP made us check our phones, but one woman slipped us this packet to take with me. It says shampoo, but she told me that this was all they give to women to wash their entire body, nothing else. Some women's hair was falling out. Others had gone 15 days without taking a shower. Again, it's the same thing as, like, drinking from the toilets. Why would they not let them shower?
What about the men? Were they just giving them soap?
No one cares about the men.
Yeah, the fucking man. It was a shit.
But the thing is, like, this, it just looks like shampoo. It's just it's a packet of shampoo. Should say body gel or whatever.
Poor women's don't get to do their full beauty makeover.
Yeah. So there's a claim that they're overcrowded, which is possible, definitely possible.
You know what would solve? You know what would solve that? New people
Yeah.
not showing up.
Yep. Sending the ones who have shown up home. I mean, Trump did call it a crisis on the border, and they did say, "Don't be stupid, Donald Trump. If you said it was a crisis, that means it's not a crisis. In fact, it's the opposite of crisis. Everything's fine." like, yeah, it is a border crisis. It's overcrowded. I can believe that. Totally believe that, right?
So
And that's-
basically the point they're making is no you.
Yeah, basically. We can't just focus on the children anymore. I met grandmothers, mothers, and fathers who are suffering. This is devastating. The look in one father's eyes broke me. I can't look away. Hashtag close
Sympathy
the
for
camps.
fathers?
I guess.
What MRA wrote this?
Yeah, well, hang on. Rashida Tlaib. I actually, she's a congresswoman from Michigan. I'm actually completely in agreement. Hashtag close the camps. So you'll just have to send them all home.
Yeah, just when they get to the border, just turn them around and say, no, back to the desert.
Yeah.
I hope you have enough for a return journey.
It's going to be like Carth. Like the greatest city that ever was and whatnot. It's like, just sorry, you're just going to have to stand here. We're just closing the door. Sorry. I mean, it seems heartless to me, Rashida. I'm actually in favor of the camps existing. But
Also, you
know.
mentioned she's from Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan doesn't have to worry about the crisis on the southern border.
so she's got
They're
lots
so
of
far
opinions.
away from the problem. Yeah. Well, they don't have to worry about it. It's like George Clooney saying we need to take in more migrants. It's like, you don't have to worry about it.
It's like people in the Glastonbury Festival in their walls saying, "Tear down walls, you bigots." You know, it's fucking amazing. Spent the morning at Texas, Clinton, El Paso detention facilities. Big takeaways. 1, CBP was very resistant to congressional oversight. They had to restrict what we saw, take our phones, block photos and video. Atmosphere was contentious and non-cooperative. Yeah, but I can't help but feel that was on both sides. Like, I don't really feel like Cortez went down there with a cooperative and genial attitude. Just left the first CBP facility, conditions far worse than we can ever imagined. 15 women in the 50s, 60s sleeping in a small concrete cell, no running water, weeks without showers, all of them separated from their families. Well, I want to see the evidence. But the thing is, I mean, maybe they're right. It is a crisis. And didn't the Democrats vote against resources for the borders? For the
details, minor and insignificant.
No.
Details.
Why are the Democrats keeping toothpaste away from children?
No, I'm sure they did. Let me have a quick Google.
I thought I heard some about that too.
Yeah.
AOC almost in particular.
It's something about the funding for camps. Hang on a second, right. AOC joins other progressives to vote against Dems on funding bill for DHS, calling for the abolition of ICE, right?
Well, that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, so they approved a $4.5 billion emergency funding package to address the border crisis, and she voted against it.
Well, if they're going to be in camps, they might as well suffer.
Yeah, exactly. It really makes her helps her make her argument much more strongly if she can make them suffer.
She is pro-suffrage, after all.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Right, yeah, she voted against it. It's interesting. And that was only a few days ago, so I don't know if I don't know what's happened since. This was the type of toilet we saw in the cell. It was just one, and the sink portion was not functioning.
Just one toilet in the cell.
So there was a sink, and so the toilets have got sink facilities in them, right? They're in the back of the toilet, and apparently in this one case, the sink facility wasn't working, and apparently they'd been told to drink out of the bowl, right? So this wasn't as you made it sound, and she's walked this, but this was only 2 hours ago. This tweet was posted in response to someone else because they'd posted. I haven't seen the photo of the Clinton, Texas ones, but it'd be interesting if drinking from the toilet meant drinking from the attached sink marked potable water. Like this image using the ones in court, where literally it's just like a single installation, but you've got the toilet bowl at the bottom, and then a tall bit where the water, the bit for the toilet is located.
Yeah.
Then above that is a sink of clean water.
Drinking water that comes straight from the tap. Yeah. I do that at my place. It's pretty great.
It's coming
basically
straight from the tap,
free water.
Yeah, but because it's all part of one unit, you could call it the toilet, and you'd include it all in the one.
If you were a disingenuous cunt, you could.
Well, then, if you were a disingenuous cunt, maybe you'd sit there and go, well, what I meant is in that particular toilet, the water wasn't coming out the taps, and therefore, it was unacceptable that they were told to drink out the toilet. It's like, yes, I agree, that's very unacceptable, but it's not
bad,
making all of them do it, is it? Fuck's sake.
Funny how just one or two facts can knock down a propagandist's narrative entirely.
Yeah, it's amazing how these things change.
Those pesky facts.
This is such stereotypical propaganda.
Okay.
You just emit one or two things, and then your story sounds completely different. But if anyone
Why
was
are
actually there,
facts
if anyone knew the
anti-immigration?
details...
Okay, well, I don't even know what she's trying to do with this one, right? Meanwhile, one refrain we've heard is that people are overcrowded in CBP concentration camps, because we've all agreed that these are concentration
We've established
camps,
it's a given.
Yeah. Right, because the shelters,
that's the starting point,
which are humane places that families can stay together, are full. So we went to a shelter, and that wasn't true at all. Only 150 out of 500 spots were filled. Right, so they're keeping them in massively overcrowded cells, even though there are these shelters that just sat there completely empty. Why?
You think they expect a whole lot more or something?
Could it be that there aren't enough personnel at the nice places to hold the entire proportion, because
to spread them out over the whole facility,
or maybe they simply haven't been assigned to cells yet. But again, cells.
I have no idea, but there's no further information. It's like, okay, so what are they not overcrowded or what? You're complaining about them being overcrowded, and there's loads of space. For some reason, I suppose it's just the malicious culture of the border place that just means that they could house them in somewhere nice. They just choose to torture them. Right, okay. Members of Congress had to surrender their phones for the trip, but Jacqueline Castrox, whoever that is, got a device in. This is the photo of the women we spoke to. We asked the permission to photograph. Right, okay.
Hold on. So, you were ordered to not take your phones in, specifically. That was you were admitted in on that premise. You flouted that premise immediately. And let me guess, there will be no repercussions.
Yeah, I mean, the women don't look maltreated. They just, I mean, they're sad, but like, you're sat in a fucking
It's only
detention
tacos.
center. Well, you're not
It is
exactly
only
happy.
tacos. Oh, I spent 6 months getting raped on a bus up here, and now all I get to eat is tacos.
Like, pretty rough life.
I did not get gang raped by 16 Mexicans for this.
Right. Even if they let you in, these women told us CBP did a lot of cleaning up before we arrived. Yeah, okay. And yet they still were like, ha ha ha, we make them drink from the toilets to your face.
Okay, isn't that a contradiction? So they knew that Alexandria Cortez was a shrewd enough little bitch to take any speck of dirt as a sign of mistreatment, and yet they were still in front of her like, yeah, we make them drink from the toilet regularly, just for funsies.
Yeah. The officers felt brazen in there. While management was telling us it was a secure facility where members of Congress had to check their phones, we caught officers trying to sneak photos, laughing. CBP's good behavior was toxic. Imagine how they treat the women trapped inside. Yeah, okay. I'm sure this is all true. All one-sided narrative, and you weren't screeching at them hysterically, and they weren't photographing you screeching hysterically. There's another photo from inside taken by a guy. They've just got sleeping bags. There's people on sleeping bags.
Oh no. Sleeping bags. Why don't they have duvets? Isn't it a human right?
This one woman was separated from people she claimed to be her daughters, but I suppose she's got the papers to show that, right?
Why would you bring identification papers to immigrate to a country? Well,
this is one of those things that I really hate. It's like, well, we'll just assume they're all because they say they are. It's like, yeah, I know they say they are, but that's the point. This is why it's a lie and what they're getting from you. That's what child traffickers are. You know, you can't just assume.
They seem to believe that their enemies are always dishonest and their allies are always honest.
Well, do you want to know something about their enemies? She's literally just put another tweet out when we were doing that, and this is gold, right? Pro-concentration camp and pro-Trump protesters tried to drown out our accounts. Pro-concentration camp. Bravo. That is just the most...
Pro-concentration camp.
That's the most genuine way to represent your opponent's opinions. You can't be more real about that.
Okay, so the actual word concentration camp means something different. It is usually a measure taken specifically during times of war to separate the population, like in the Boer conflict or in the Philippines or, like the Goemons or the Soviets as well. Okay. The word concentration camp is to take a group of the populace, unwanted, and concentrate it in an area for policing. This isn't what's happening. They are taking foreign citizens in an area for processing to check if they can get citizenship or not. I wonder, were they doing that in the Nazi ones? Hey, Jew, you want to become a citizen of the Reich?
Hang on a sec. So I can't. I'll give you guys some tweets because they're only a few seconds long. Videos that I found on Twitter, but I can play them through the stream that we're doing now, but I can't play them through Discord. So give me 20 seconds. Hang on. She's fucking speaking Spanish.
Oh no.
Buenos dias.
Oh,
Burritos.
Honestly, if someone got a burrito. Okay, I can't understand that.
Stay out. Yeah.
Hang on.
This was them on their best behavior, and they put them in a room with no running water, and these women were being told by CBP officers...
The damn Jews just wouldn't stop.
They were drinking water out of the toilet, and that was them knowing a congressional visit was coming. This is CBP on their best behavior, telling people to drink out of the toilet.
Well, she's
Did you
definitely
see somebody
indignant.
actually do that while you
See, so she sat there going, "Oh, drinking out the toilet. No, this is on their best behaviour." And then one of the gents like, "Did you see someone actually doing that?" And she just wound up a window and drove off. So okay. I mean, the guy reporting is calling it concentration camp as well. Then the arriving, and we've got a little.
What we saw today
You're a liar, and the biggest liar standing to your right.
No child.
Donate anything else.
Okay, there's a small group of counter protesters when she's giving a speech or a press conference who are just yelling that you're a liar at her.
Seems factually accurate so far.
Yeah.
Feminist frequency red pilled us on how that's evil. Are they going to say that she sucks next?
What? Okay, hang on. Oh, this is going to be another good one. I'll send you it so you can listen to it as well. This is... yeah, that's a great meme as well.
When we are as a person, when we are debating whether or not someone being denied a shower for 15 hours is a public health or humanitarian violation. I was told that it was uncomfortable and unsavory, but we can debate whether or not it's a public health crisis or a humanitarian issue. We met women who have
I
not
love
bathed
that
in 15
meme.
days,
It
who
was
don't
really
know where their
good.
children are, who are in the freezer, a detention space that doesn't even
They
have
kept
running
them in
water, and they've
ice
been forced to
boxes.
get the only water they could from the toilet. That's what we're dealing with here.
What
This
is the
system is
solution right
broken.
now? What's the solution?
Okay, so something I found interesting. She said they've been denied a shower for 15 hours. I thought that the tweet said days earlier. 15 hours is not that long to be denied a shower.
I've been denied
Yeah.
a shower for more than 15 fucking hours.
I mean, I don't consider myself to be unhygienic, and I shower once every 24 hours. So, like, what? Like, unless there's a
God.
particular reason, you know, if I'm exercising or something. But, like, you know, as a general just rule of thumb, that seems to be enough. And
They
apparently
weren't
there have
even
been...
provided with complimentary caviar. The horror!
Well, she's
Yes, chat,
described
my
the
voice can
ice
get
boxes in which detainees are kept to ensure they're uncomfortable. Right? It's like, it's in a desert. Have you considered that these ice boxes might be what we consider to be air conditioning in the real world? I mean, like...
And if you gave them some funding, they
It's
could get
cruelty and
actual air
racism.
conditioning.
To keep them in air conditioning, apparently. So yeah, like this is all very, very extreme, and I want to see some real evidence. I'll go back to the super chat, sorry, but I know that took quite a long time, but like there was a lot there to go through, and I don't find myself landing on the side of everything she's saying is completely representative of what happened. I can't be racist if I identify as an alien. That's a good point. Google, man show end women's suffrage. I haven't seen it, but I will. Let me... If I could type. Right, okay, I'll watch that another time. Oh, is that fucking Jimmy Kimmel? God, what a cuck. Archie, got my first set of Space Marine models. There'll be Lamenters, Wish Me Luck, and Thin Paints.
Good luck, especially with the Lamenters. That's gonna require some luck.
What's their color scheme?
The Lamenters are a chapter that is famous for being extraordinarily unlucky, partially because they decided to paint their armor yellow with checkered patterns.
Right. Oh,
All
oh
Lamenters.
god, yeah, no, I recognise these ones. Yellow as well.
Every time they do anything, they end up getting decked. Quite tragic, really.
How sad. Right, yeah, sorry. By the way, I've been watching. I've been enjoying non-political content a lot recently, and I've been following the drama. No. I've been following the drama about the what's it? The highlight paints. What are they called?
The lies, yes.
The lies, yes. I'm finding myself coming around to it because I've been watching like certain people doing it as it's come up in my recommendations, and they've been getting better at using them. I think they could be a useful addition. I haven't painted anything in years, but
having talked to someone that is in literal painter has basically explained to me why there is no such thing as highlight paint.
Well, there probably isn't. I mean, for people doing like a mass army, I think it's useful. I would use it if I had an army. That's why I'm going to get a 3D printer. Fuck Games Workshop.
I'll just build my own army.
Yeah, exactly. No, seriously, it's always been the dream, man. I remember trying to make lead molds when I was young. Couldn't do it very well. No, we sucked. Don't ooh. It wasn't very impressive. Saw someone claiming that the right wing is responsible for 98% of political deaths in America in a Tim Pool vid. This number seems doctored. Thoughts?
I think in the US stats show that they are the biggest.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
Violence.
Yeah.
But I think it's not the right wingers that are part of the culture war. So it's not right wingers that we would align with.
It's like weirdo, far right, crazy people.
Preppers and stuff like that, right?
And worldwide, it's Muslims then communists.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Preppers are more libertarians.
There's definitely some sort of contention to be resolved there. Because if they actually are but they're already terrorist organizations, so let's just apply our standards equally.
Yeah, I don't see why we need to make any special provision for what sounds like nut jobs.
Exactly. So that's an argument against the side of the right who are radical, who do not have the principled position that we do. For us, it's the same. Okay, so the right wingers do more actual harm. So apply the principle to them as well. The exact same as we do to the left.
Yeah, just literally no distinction whatsoever.
If that is true, we can't really say that the left are the biggest violent threat to the US without putting some interpretation in there.
Yeah, well, the difference is there's very little you can really do against an active shooter other than shoot them. And that's already the default position of what we do against active shooters. So what was there to say?
That's their Antifa.
Well, they're not. Yeah, but that's the difference, isn't it? Because they're not active shooters. They don't get instantly stopped, even though there is complete justification to stop from what they're doing. You know, if the active shooters weren't being stopped, I'd be like, oh, fuck, man. You know, maybe we should start getting the cops to shoot these fucking, lunatics with guns who are shooting up schools or something. But they do. So it's like, okay, well then that's a thing that's happening, but at least we're taking the right response in at least one way, the immediate way. But with Antifa, they shouldn't be doing any of the stuff they're doing. So, and the cops are right there and they're not doing it, and there's every reason to do it.
That is the big problem, of course, that the law isn't being applied. People in chat are saying that I've missed it. Hold on. Okay, yeah, they're talking about the definition of extreme right terrorism, and of course there could be a contention made there, especially if the SPLC is assisting with their statistics gathering.
Well, yes, you got to check these things. Like one of the things that they hate Andy No for at the moment is that it wasn't long ago either that he did a Twitter thread where he analysed each of the 28 trans murders to analyse how much transphobia he could find involved in it, if it was directly involved or not. And in most of them it wasn't. It was just people getting killed because they would, for whatever reason it was, just some, whatever the fucking reason. But it wasn't specifically, or at least even vaguely provable that it could be considered that it was because they were trans. So it's just people getting murdered. And it's like, okay. This is like, oh, trans people are being murdered. So, well, I guess everyone is. Because these mostly, they were coming from sort of black or other ethnic minority communities. So, where they've got a high murder rate, presumably. But, thanks, Medicaid Child. Minnesota is the cuck state of the Midwest, largely settled by Swedish Americans who brought their traditions of importing Somali refugees with them. Well, there we go. That's everything we need to know about Minnesota.
This is true.
Captain KJ, thank you. Black white holes aren't. Hasn't anyone told Oozlu prostitution is not moral? Oh, Oozlu, is it moral? Is it immoral to be a prostitute?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Yeah, but let's
prostitution is entirely moral.
Yeah, let's take that argument. Go on then. Why is it entirely moral?
I think it's immoral.
Entirely moral because
the best argument you can make against it is that it's unfair on men because men can't do it. But
Of course they can
we
do
live in a
it.
liberal society.
They can
Okay,
do
well,
it.
they can't do it anywhere near as well. But we live in a liberal society. You have the freedom to do it. There are things that men are much
I think
better
what
at
you
than
mean
women,
is
so-
the barrier to entry is just a lot lower for women.
I mean, it's why you don't see as many homeless women.
Yeah.
So I don't see a problem with it. Obviously,
That's another
I think
good
if you-
point. It's a social security net. Da da da.
Certainly a compelling argument.
Arch Warhammer 2019. It's a social safety net, women. You can just be a hooker.
Yep.
I wonder what happened if you would factor that into the tax contribution and withdrawals that puts men way above women.
See, yeah, and suddenly you've closed the pay gap too. Fuck, there's nothing but benefits.
So, okay, let me sum up a conservative argument against this. So, how about it encourages promiscuity and irresponsibility, and will contribute to the degradation of marriages, and thereby weaken the social fabric, make people generally less virtuous. It's probably not virtuous to go to a prostitute. And so, yeah, something along those lines, the degradation of society, the lack of personal virtue.
Yeah, don't worry
Well,
about
that's
it.
true.
The left is dealing with that. We don't need to worry. And besides,
Those things are
whores have existed for literal eternity.
Ah,
and
but
yet
that
we
hang
seem to
on,
be doing
hang
well
on.
so far.
No. Because there have been lots of times where there have been problems with excessive sexual promiscuity, and these, of course, massive social kickbacks that have turned into massively unfavorable conditions, like Weimar Germany, right? There have been
Yes,
lots of
but-
other times throughout history where this happens, where excessive degeneracy does get out of hand.
Yeah, that's why it's called excessive degeneracy.
That's true.
On other occasions, you've had periods like Victorian England where you had such straight-laced motherfuckers that they eventually spawned some proper pervert degenerates.
Yes, that's true, and I'm not suggesting they were in the right either, but
See?
hang on.
Balance in all things.
Yeah,
I think there might be a point of balance to be made here.
I'm not saying we should have like state-enforced whores.
Yeah, but what you the thing
not?
I said, hang on. I'm trying to argue the conservative position here, right? So what they're going to argue is surely that just proves that man has been weak and fallen in all of his previous incarnations, right? So you can't just say, oh well, we've always had prostitutes, therefore it's okay to have prostitutes.
That wouldn't be wrong.
I'm curious with what authority they're taking to push whatever their personal moral.
Well, we're trying
positions
to
are on.
we're trying to establish whether we are in agreement on a moral position. And I mean, do you not think that something like prostitution does damage the fabric of society?
I don't think that
talking-
going to a prostitute is an immoral. I think it's completely amoral. It's neither immoral nor immoral.
Yeah, and I think that is the
We
crux of the issue.
attribute too much value to sex, I think, which is partially also why it has become such a powerful commodity.
See,
I mean,
now,
from-
at this
I
point,
love
I can say, well, you are the degenerates that are the cause of the degeneracy, because you leave the door wide open for the people who don't agree with you and go way further.
And I don't even expect thanks for it.
I don't think that I don't think that saying that prostitution should be legal, but like every other profession that exists, regulated with certain business standards and whatnot to exist. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to ask.
Well, Sargon, you would surely have to agree that it should be okay, because you've always, when the questions
This isn't my argument. I'm trying to
I know.
think of a conservative.
But to get you to make our argument for us, right? But when it's been brought up that in order to occasionally it might be better to be more restrictive in order to defend the nation, you've always erred on the side of liberal principles. No, let them do it if they're not infringing on anyone else's rights. And we shouldn't have a moral authority at the top of society that's trying to impose its morality onto society in general, because that's just social engineering, akin to the social justice warriors. And if anyone is sympathetic to that argument, they're pretty much principle bound to say that prostitution on a large scale should be allowed, but obviously any industry which is allowed should probably have some sort of regulation, and it doesn't make the individual act immoral either. You
Yeah,
can
but
argue
the
that it
thing
might
is,
make society less
if we
coherent.
agree that prostitution is immoral, essentially we're putting it in the same. Well, hang on. Essentially, we end up putting it in the same category as like child trafficking or something like that, right? It's not that it hasn't been done since time immemorial. It's just that we think that's a moral wrong. So it doesn't matter how long we've been doing it for or how underground we think it's going to go. If it's a moral wrong in the right sort of way, then it's going to be acceptable to continually be vigilant against it, right? But secondly, I think that if you can argue that excessive promiscuity has led to the degradation of the family, and this is actually detrimental to children, and we're also finding ourselves not only with rampant, youth delinquency, but also a declining birth rate. So the civilization will end up collapsing on its own merits, it is its own merits anyway. Then maybe there is a strong argument to be made for what essentially is patriarchy.
But
I think we're simply placing far too much value on this. Like, we're basically now heaping the collapse of society on the fact that some men don't want to bother with a relationship but still want to fuck.
Well, it's not just men; it's women as well. I think the blame would be evenly portioned here.
And plus,
men use it.
They both vote after all.
Much to everyone's dismay.
I mean, when it comes to, I guess, if you look at things through a patriarchal lens, then arguments could be, this is how stupid the patriarchal kind of mindset is. But you could equally argue that it is a patriarchy that would deny women the ability to make living and use their body for, sex, for profit or anything like that. That it's men who are telling women they can't do that, exercising their power over women. Yeah, so that would work both ways.
I think we could also do a comparative moral question here, because prostitution is something that seemingly will exist regardless, despite all of the various governments that have tried to eradicate it, made it illegal. I mean, now it's more common for it to be illegal than not, and yet it still happens on a large scale, which leads to the smuggling of people, basically enslavement of these prostitutes, etc., by pimps and abusers. Surely that's a greater moral ill than simply going like, okay, let's regulate this. Let's make this safe for everyone involved.
Well, that might indeed. We already agreed that that's just the open door to more degeneracy.
Are we?
I'll take
you
it.
said you said that earlier. You said that you were gladly opening the door. So if we've already agreed that all you're saying to me now is, well, look, how about we don't do the degeneracy? We just allow the degeneracy to happen, and the whole point is to stop the degeneracy to prevent the further degeneration of society.
I think, if anything, my point at that point is degeneracy is good. It makes less people suffer.
But we can show demonstrable suffering.
Yeah, but there's demonstrable suffering of trying to stop it as well.
I think there will be more suffering if you attempt to suppress it. I think it's extremely exploitative.
Was there more suffering before it was legal?
Say that again.
Was there more suffering, say, 100 years ago?
Yes.
In what sense?
Was it? Well, it depends.
Were
there people just stabbing each other in the streets?
Probably.
We don't have to use America as a model necessarily.
If you attempt to criminalize something that's going to happen anyway, then only the criminals will do it. I think there is a very strong argument for
correct. Yes.
Look at the drug war.
Yeah.
That worked out real well too.
Overall, I think the best
drug's the
argument
same
is to
thing.
regulate these things.
No, I think drugs are completely outside of morality.
Yeah, but that's the point, though, isn't it? I think some probably are. I think some highly addictive drugs.
I think most, like the weed and stuff like that, completely amoral.
But highly addictive. I agree on that because they don't seem to have any noticeably detrimental effects, right?
Well, I wouldn't even go by that. There are noticeably detrimental effects from someone who drinks too much soda. But I wouldn't say that drinking soda is an amoral is a moral action. Yeah,
but that's only because there's no particular consequence of it, right?
Yeah, there is.
In the realm of
it's terrible for you.
No, it's not good for you in the long run. But people can moderate the amount of soda they drink, and therefore
people can moderate the amount of horse they fuck.
Well, they can, except that I think that there's a bigger social consequence than doing marijuana. From the conservative argument, right? I'm trying to steelman their position here, right?
I would say that's potentially.
Because obviously, I agree with all you guys.
Claim of superior morality, really. It's like, we think this does more damage, therefore.
Well, if that's how we measure it,
I think that it would be oftentimes if you found, the conservative types who were against it, then I think that they would have to make that it's almost like an internal struggle that they would have to make themselves between which is more important, the enforcement of morality in society based on these conservative traditions, or people's individualistic freedom to make choices for themselves.
Yeah. But if they end up destroying society by making all these individualistic choices, so maybe we should need some sort of Sharia.
Yeah, obvious. Yeah, dress them up in letterboxes, I say.
Yeah.
Well, Saigon, you've just said that, and I assume this was your actual position, that you think that hard drugs shouldn't be allowed on societal level.
They shouldn't be criminalized. No, I don't think any drugs should be criminalized. But there should be some sort of special category where it's effectively, you require it's like a health problem. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, you can't have a meth lab in your apartment.
Yeah.
I would definitely advocate for the state to get people off them.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like.
I don't want them going to jail for it.
Part of the reason I consider myself a centrist is that you're inevitably going to have liberal principles mixed with conservative principles in a working society, because you have to protect the collective order as well as the individual freedom.
Yeah.
Inevitably, there's going to be a few areas where you have to, and that's why I think you and I have butted heads slightly on. I think you have said that you would apply the principle of you can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't infringe on my rights to pretty much everything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this isn't my argument either. I was just thinking about it from the conservative position. I agree with you now. Obviously, prostitution shouldn't be legal, but that's.
I was talking about something that you said that seemed
illegal.
to be your argument about hard drugs.
Oh yeah. Well, again, I don't think they should be illegal.
I think the use and manufacture of things are obviously going to be differentiated as well.
Yeah, and sale of it as well.
Yeah, doing meth, selling meth, and creating meth in a laboratory are three different things.
Yeah.
Even though I would consider some mix of those to be justifiably illegal in society.
But
I want to criminalize the people who are suffering with the addiction of them. I want to help them get off it.
Yeah. There's
definitely nuance.
It would be a health issue. It'd be like as if just look at it as if you've been afflicted with something. I think is a better way to look at drug addiction. Just because the criminalization
like
of it.
Homosexuality.
Well, all right, Anne Widdecombe. Did you see that when she was saying that science might find a cure to homosexuality, and everyone flipped out, and it's like, well, she didn't say she was going to make you take it, but since I'm designing the perfect hyper conservative housemaid's what's that? Is it Housemaid's Tale?
Handmaiden's Tale.
Handmaiden's Tale. That's it. Since I'm creating that perfect future now, bringing back patriarchy. I mean, would we have to do that if we could scientifically cure the gays?
The gays are an even greater degenerate threat to society than the whores.
Huh.
Speaking of Handmaid's Tale, I think the big thing that story misses is gynosympathy, for those of you who don't find that controversial as a concept. So, on the prostitution matter again, I was going to bring this up. Like, how much of the advocacy against prostitution do you reckon is because of gynosympathy? Because a lot of men and women think that it's oppressive to the woman because they're having sex that they don't necessarily want to have.
A lot of it, and I can even give a great example of it. In Norway, it used to be illegal to sell sex. Now, it is illegal to purchase, but legal to sell.
Oh, this is the matriarchy at work.
And that happened very specifically after we got more left-wing.
Fucking of course it did.
Right, so you can't lock up the women for
weird that was the day one agenda. Right, we're going to make it legal to sell sex, but not to buy. It's like what?
So only lesbians can have prostitution.
But even then you'd be like, what? No, because a lesbian woman who's buying the sex is the one in trouble. But like, why is that? Why is that fucking policy number one? Like, why is this one of the first things you do?
So all the prostitutes are forced to just sit out there showing their goods, and no one is allowed to buy.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've eradicated prostitution by not doing a thing against the women.
Well, it's just if they get caught, isn't it? Because then it's like, it's the man who gets in trouble, not the woman.
They could definitely honeypot a man who doesn't know about the law, especially tourists.
Well, I mean, again, like most of them will just not tell anyone. Obviously, they're not going to tell on their own customers, surely.
Well, if they're tourists, they might. If they're only going for one night. If they feel particularly vindictive, you've given them the power to. So I have a meme I made a while ago that relates to the prostitution and gyno sympathy thing.
Okay.
You're gonna like this.
Why would
you may have seen it actually. I'll actually probably like this too. It's in Symposium.
Okay.
I'll read it out if you guys like.
Go on then.
Chat probably wants to hear it.
Yeah, go on.
Right, so it's one of those expanding brain memes. Starts off at the top. Makeup is beautiful and empowering for women. Hashtag girl power. The next panel, bigger brain, is makeup is a tool of patriarchy to objectify women and enforce gender norms. Next panel, glowing enormous brain. Makeup is a vain and deceptive tool used by women to falsely advertise their appearance. And cyber brain interconnected with the universe. Women have evolved to require makeup to survive in the sexual marketplace due to the lack of selection pressures for good quality skin after centuries of persistent makeup use.
Interesting.
The irony is,
of 1 to 10, how red-pilled it's.
If they all just multilaterally just disarmed and just went to wearing no makeup, then what are men going to do?
Well, you'll see what was it? The thing that judged how that got the stats on how women see men versus how men see women. That would suddenly shift. We might actually get equality. Who knows?
If U.S. military vets use black humor, off-duty law enforcement humor is Vanta Black. That's going to be a joke I don't get because of cultural differences. Sargon, real quick, were you ever a Christian in your life and how did you get over it? I've never been a Christian. I've always been an atheist. I didn't need to get over it. I just don't believe that anything written in any of the holy books is true in any way, shape, or form.
I never quite believed it, but I was brought up in it, so like before the age of reason, I think I just kind of defaulted to it because I had no way of thinking about other things. But at the age of reason, I pretty quickly got off it because it's just okay. Well, it doesn't exist as far as I know. It just faded out because I didn't need to think about it.
Yeah, same.
I used to be a devout Christian.
Well, go on, why?
Because you were born in it and you're raised with it, and it's basically brainwashing. You never recognized how terrible the arguments and reasoning is for it. You just accept it, and you accept the terrible justifications that were given to you your entire life. And it was around 19-ish or so, like even throughout college, every week I went to mass. And because I thought it was immoral to not go. But then I'd say about the first half of college I would do that, but then eventually the internet, because I didn't have unrestricted free and open internet access until I went to college. So when that happened, I took that in the face like a brick wall, and I got a bunch of I listened to debates and arguments and stuff like that, and I see the commenters on the internet, all the fedora tippers and stuff, and eventually all of that adds up into a big pile. And you kind of can't escape it because it's just one and then the other, one argument, then the next argument, and the next argument, one after the other, and it just piles up and you can't ignore it. And then I started watching a bunch of debates and,
Oh, go on, you want to finish?
Yeah, I started watching a lot of debates, and I would, the Richard Dawkins and the Hitchens and Dillahunties and stuff like that, and I was like, man. I fell for that stuff hook, line, and sinker. This stuff makes way more sense.
Back when Dawkins wasn't a faith-based reasoner.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't listened to him in a long time. I far prefer others, but it just it just became impossible for me to not see, take the atheist position as the more reasonable one. So Rags. Yeah.
How much of an impact do you think you being raised in an intense religious environment has had on your current degeneracy?
I don't know. That's what's really weird. I can't say. I honestly don't. I don't know how to draw the connections. There may be. There may not be. I don't know. I don't lick men's assholes to rebel against my parents, but it's just because I love my parents to death, and I legitimately, seriously appreciate the way that they raised me because I think it was mostly good. I think when I realized I was an atheist, like nothing changed other than I was like, oh, I guess I'm an atheist now.
I take it you didn't have a particular amount of religiosity beforehand.
No, yeah. I used to be like really, like I would go to church every week and I would argue, pro-Catholic arguments. I was like really, really into it. I was an altar boy. I did there's your connection. But I would do like lecturing and all sorts of stuff in the church. I would handbell choir and all that stuff, man. I was into it. I was really, really into it. Then the Fire Nation attacked.
Why is Dave religious now?
Who?
Dave Cullen.
Forever.
I haven't. I heard of that video. I haven't watched it yet. I know Logic's aware of it because I asked him.
Oh well,
about
what
it.
did he? What did, I haven't seen this one. What is it?
Apparently,
started-
Dave Cullen's religious now.
Near when I would first start watching his channel, he did a video on like an introduction to himself,
Yeah.
and he explained the atheism. And
Right,
so I'm kind of surprised to see it gone. It seems like it might be culturally influenced rather than logically influenced.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of do have that kind of inclination, don't they?
I haven't watched his video, so I don't want to
I haven't
misjudge
seen it
him.
either. Okay, well, you know, like I'm not against him being religious. Like,
Yeah, it seems
just not-
strange.
I'm not really
Yeah.
interested in being an anti-theist, to be honest.
No, aside from the position on like our personal position, the general position for me with religion is a lot more permissive than I used to be, because I think you can't look at the world through a purely logical lens because a lot of people aren't interested in that, and that's pretty much fine because that's what evolution has done for us. So it's got to be good in some sense. I think these kinds of ordered delusions might lead people to do better things than if they just did logical things. It may be why the birth rate is so low. Part of the reason.
Well, I'm not going to rule it out.
I think structure is pretty important. Same as I believe Nietzsche was talking about, like the end of meaning with "we've killed God," essentially. Like that's probably very much true, and we still haven't found a good replacement.
Yeah,
It's a shame people can't do that.
it does. It does.
For a lot
It
of
does
people,
strike
yeah,
me
I think
that,
it really is a shame that a lot of people can't, I guess, find meaning without that kind of what I essentially think is a lie. But it's on them.
Maybe it would be better for society to establish some sort of very modern religion that I hate to say it, but the slightly lower IQ people in society are expected to adopt.
Are
No,
you
I
saying
know what
the
you're saying.
Mormons for the win?
Well, in Isaac
they seem to have their
Asimov's
shit together,
Foundation
to be fair.
trilogy, there was a religion that was essentially established with the core tenets of religion being commerce, where fair commerce and the expansion of commerce was essentially a holy act.
We're talking about the Ferengi.
Oy vey. Yeah.
In a sense, I guess you could make a connection, but that was part of, I forget which one in the Foundation trilogy it was, but that was like a part of one of the earlier books, I think. Or if you can religify certain aspects of a society in ways that are, beneficial, then there are ways to make that work for the greater good.
See, chat's pointing out that progressivism is that religion now, and of course that's a really fucking bad choice. But if we could make people adopt liberal principles, or liberalist principles if you prefer, to make it more specific, that we would all agree with as a religion, then maybe that would make for a better society. Maybe that would solve the problem that you and I were talking about, Sargon, of vigilance.
Honestly,
going away.
I think that's the Mormons, mate.
I think the idea is
Yeah,
to make a
and I
religion
wrote-
that's based off of systems and not declarations or proclamations.
Well, yeah, but
which
that's
is ultimately one of the biggest problems with Christian, generally religious morality, is that it's not a
that simple,
system.
though.
Yeah, but
You have to introduce
and
elements that force belief.
well, hang on a sec. The thing is, right? The Mormons are secular. They actually they have secularism as part of their belief system, right? And I think it's because they are a product of Enlightenment thinking. They are actually the religion of the Enlightenment, and they seem to actually have their shit together. Like, they have families.
Yeah, it's also like the world's fakest religion too. So
Yeah, but they're all fucking fake. It's just this, after enough time passes, it becomes real, doesn't it?
Well, Mormonism's a
those
couple
months.
hundred years old. Maybe we could make something slightly better.
Oh, yeah,
to be more apt.
But yeah,
Yeah, I
in
mean,
400,
it's
500
probably
years,
up
when
for
the Mormons
modernising,
go
yeah.
through their Reformation, we'll see how it turns out.
Well, no, the thing is that there are Mormons here. They just wander around and they're just really
No,
polite.
yeah, they're nice.
Exactly right, and that's surely
They're nice.
Yeah, but they're not like SJWs as far as
They're
I can tell.
creepy.
Yeah, but they seem to have their shit together. It's like, look,
Yeah, they do.
If I'm going to be surrounded by religious nut jobs, I would do. There are way worse choices than Mormons.
Except that
Yeah,
they take all
well,
the women for
yeah,
themselves.
I got you. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I live in Arkansas. I am surrounded by religious people, and I don't feel like oppressed or anything.
Yeah.
Christians aren't throwing people off of rooftops. Not that I would imply any religion would do such a terrible thing.
There's a show called The Expanse in which the dominant religion, in fact, probably the only religion, is Mormonism. The writers of the show predicted that they would do roughly the same thing you predicted. So not everyone is a Mormon. It's very powerful.
Yeah, but
It's set in like 100, 200 years from now.
but if we're going to talk about like culturally compatible religions, then that's one that our culture produced. You know, unlike all the others that shaped our culture, we actually produced this one. But anyway, funny how the left cares more about illegal immigrants, but prisoners can get raped and assaulted before they are like, who cares? We need votes. I can't
even if they're Hispanic prisoners.
Yeah, I can't fit the Navy SEAL copy pastor in the super chat, and this upsets me. I can't say I'm surprised. Google Asheville City Council flyers, third link. Right, okay, hang on a second. This better be good. I know I'm not going to do it with that. That's women's suffrage.
Yeah, someone brings up the point that Mormons have multiple female marriage, and that sounds great for us guys until we realize we might not be the ones having multiple women. We might be the ones having no women.
No, fuck that. Can you imagine more than one woman nagging at you all fucking day?
Yeah, but if your religion defines you as in charge, it's not a bad balance.
Unironically, though, who wants more than one wife? I have one, it's enough.
Who wants one? Ugh.
Look, we've got to keep the race going. Like, the human race will die out.
Well, that's just what the planet needs. Pro-environmentalism.
No,
death to humanity.
I'm so sick of this sort of like anti-family stuff, because it's like we do have to be cognizant of the fact that, like, if we don't have children, that is the end of civilization.
Yeah, I think that the family unit is an extremely valuable, important, and insanely beneficial thing for society.
Well,
it's what society's built on. I mean, what are we even talking about here, you know?
Some of the people arguing that it's okay might argue that, well, look, no, birth rates are okay in the UK. It's all brown people, but, you know, what's the problem with that?
Literally, that's what this... Unironically, that's what this woman said to the Dalai Lama. I was going to do a video on it earlier, but I did this instead.
Oh, yeah, the Dalai Lama is based in Red Pill.
He really is, but in this interview, he was literally like, you know, Europe will become a Muslim continent. And she was like, well, what's wrong with that? Well, you know, it's like, oh, fucking what?
It's like, you're a woman.
Well, she was.
That sucks for you.
I think she may have been a Muslim, mate.
Like, again, they pick who they like.
You're a woman. That sucks for you.
Yeah, right. But it was just like, what do you mean? You know, isn't it weird? If obviously not. It's not a toilet. It's a combination thing. Lavatory. Oh, sorry, go on.
The activists pick who they like and who they don't like. They ascribe all good to who they like and all bad to who they don't like.
Yeah.
They have said that they don't like whites. They've said that they do like Muslims. Therefore, what's the problem if Muslims completely take over? And I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about culture. It's not a great culture.
Yes, I don't like it. I disapprove of the way that they try to run things. I mean, like, I'm just looking at the countries that they have, and I think, well, I wouldn't be happy to run a country this way. Because I guess I'm, not very progressive.
Hey, look, some of them only illegalize male homosexuality.
Oh, how progressive.
So you can go to a bar and get a show. You just can't partake in a similar way yourself.
Have you seen
Don't touch yourself.
Have you seen Soph's new video on the boomer question? I have not. AOC went down there with platitudes and came back with hoaxes, undoubtedly. Sargon, no, I've done that one. The UK is lost. Come to America. We need you here. Dude, no, I'm not. I can't just... I will visit America, obviously, because America is full of really interesting people, but it's also full of nut jobs. But my own country has way more nut jobs, it feels. Actually, is that even true? No, I don't think it's true. I think you guys have got way more nut jobs than we. I mean, proportion per head of population, you know. I think you guys actually have more nut jobs. Spicy opinion, everything gets worse when low IQ people increase in number, including prison conditions. If we don't control our own populations, reality will do so via famine, war, and dysfunction. Well, I mean, that's probably just true qualitatively, but...
population control?
I don't think the problem is necessarily the IQ. I think it's honestly the breeding of the people. Like, if you've come from a country that has particularly lax standards in certain ways, then even high IQ people are still going to do it.
Magnetic realism.
And low IQ people can still be moral people. They just have to be taught to be moral people by the society in which they're in. And if you don't have that...
By the way, the phrase "do it" is what the high IQ people call it. They do it.
Yeah. If you regulate prostitution, does that mean you're regulating women's bodies? Yes. That's why we call it patriarchy.
Yeah, down with the patriarchy.
Safety.
Well, I mean, you know...
Let's scissor to fight the patriarchy.
Well, I kind of hate this. Like, everyone's body's regulated to some degree by something. You know, it's like, oh no, we can't do anything.
Oh, look, Sargon the naturalist.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Especially if a man happens to impregnate a woman.
Exactly.
Then the
Or a
man is the property
prostitute.
of the state for 18
Or as I
years.
call it, womb oppression.
Prostitution being immoral shouldn't have effect on legality, though, right? Morality is irrelevant, isn't it? Well, no, I mean, all laws are fundamentally based on some kind of moral imperative, even if this is an outdated one that we can, and the standards of the times have changed, and that's why we change them. And that's why we have democracy, so we can make the laws conformable to our moral standards.
I think people asking if laws are moral or if they're practical kind of miss the point that it's a massive attrition over time of comparing the factors of all the moral systems plus practical benefits and finding the one that is least objectionable to the most people.
Yeah, I think once you get any group of people where individuals do not personally care about the well-being of everyone around them, laws become basically necessary. Like a family living on the prairie doesn't need laws because they personally care about each other's well-being to a great degree.
They'll also have rules set down by
yeah.
whoever the elder is, in charge.
But I would say those are almost like rules just meant for children,
Well, I think they're meant for each other.
It's almost like there's like an unspoken kind of like it's like the empathy that we feel towards people we care about in small groups is kind of like the replacement for or essentially it's laws in an unwritten way. It's once you get the societies that are essentially introduce another family into the mix, and then it's like, oh, okay, well now we gotta let's lay some ground rules here, guys.
Legalization of prostitution would remove internet thoughts. Women wouldn't be able to leverage men if their physical allure is provided by the market. I disagree.
Well, I've been convinced.
Yeah, I disagree, I'm afraid, man. I think there are lots of women who absolutely do. Like, what's Belle Delphine or whatever it is? That's what she does. I mean, where I live, prostitution's legal, and she's from Britain. So, there's a market, man. And I think the market specifically is actually because of the gradient. I think that prostitution is considered to be more extreme in this regard than an internet thought. And so I think there's people, there's a greater level of permissiveness to like, a premium super chats or something, a Snapchat, sorry. Than
how many people have to
prostitute.
watch a thought on the internet for one thought to balance out against one prostitute?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not saying I've got a measure.
Great questions of our time.
Yeah, but it's something that we need to figure out. If boner culture is ever going to succeed. I love that phrase, boner culture. It's like, who the fuck came up with that?
I think it was like an SJW who did it.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Like an article or something, mocking it.
Yeah.
But it's just too good.
It's so funny. It's like, what a fucking phrase. But the thing is, that's a fairly accurate description of what it is. Because, like, I'm one of those people who doesn't actually like having, like, scantily clad women in games. I just think it's, like, generally needless,
Yeah, it depends on the context, but since the context is oftentimes like combat and adventuring, like you want to not be naked for that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm much more realism focused.
It does pull me out of the immersion a bit.
Yeah,
see this thing just flopping around on wilderness.
It's like the meme about bullying online. Just go and watch porn.
Yeah.
I guess young boys who can't get away with watching porn at the moment and do play video games might appreciate it, but other than that, it seems like maybe just what marketing departments have thought, well, this ought to work, even if it's not really appealing to anyone.
Do you know what's interesting? As I was watching a live stream chat between two young ladies called Critical Condition and Lindsay Shepherd, right? And one of the...
You say Lindsay Shepherd?
Yeah. The Canadian University Wilfrid Laurier woman who got bullied by the SJWs. Yeah. She's turned quite conservative, and they both agreed. They're both quite conservative, and they both agreed that they should avoid men who watch porn.
Oh, I have some bad news for you, sister.
Yes, I didn't want to have to.
Then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, there's like. It is. I mean, what do you guys think of that? Like the
avoid men who watch porn.
A moral objection to pornography. What do you reckon?
I would be curious what the actual why it was a moral objection.
Things you probably can make an argument for it.
I bet they probably could. That they would believe is justifiable. I would like to hear it. That's the thing.
Well, again, it would go something along the lines of self-denial as a virtue. Because really, you're indulging your baser aspects, aren't you? And so if you were, if you met someone who unironically resisted all of these urges in a kind of monk-like fashion, there would be something admirable about that, not giving in to temptations and stuff like this.
I mean, I would say not giving into immoral temptations.
Well, I think there's something probably quite admirable.
I mean, self-control, sure.
Yeah, but all things tempting are those things that are not good for you, right? In large quantities.
Alex, is Sargon cutting out for you as well?
He's a little quiet,
So,
but I can hear him.
I'll just quickly rejoin.
cut out. 10 seconds.
Oh no, I can hear him just fine.
No, it might be my
We're
end.
talking about jerking.
Reset. Reset yours, Usually. But yeah, so I can see like a heavily conservative argument that I don't personally ascribe to, but I can see what they're saying.
I think so too.
In some
I can
way,
see
there
what they're
probably is
saying,
some truth to it. Like an excessive permissiveness will lead to sort of an excessive degeneration.
Well, yeah, excessive anything is bad. That's the key.
But again,
I
like,
think so. In human history for temperance to be beneficial, and there's speculation abound on certain forums online, certain image boards that masturbating will decrease your aptitude for relationships, and also having lots of sexual partners as a female will decrease your ability to settle down with any. Both might be true. I haven't seen data for them, but they might well be true.
They could be. I mean, they certainly could be true. I mean, the question is, do you have the right to do that, even if it is detrimental? And technically, yes, you should have the right to do these things.
You can't stop people. That's even beyond drugs and abortion and prostitution and that kind of stuff.
Hey, you say that, but Sharia exists, okay? So don't speak too soon.
People jerk it in Sharia. Dudes absolutely masturbate.
Yeah. Do we have the stats on how many men do it there, or are the stats restricted? Because
it's like unreported rapes. It's unreported jerk-off sessions in Sharia law.
Yeah, it's like when you define rape as only something men can do to women, and then you say most of the victims of rape are women. No, 100% of them are women by definition, because of your immoral definition.
But I think that when it comes to matters of personal sexuality, it might simply be the unfortunate reality that society will just kind of have to bear any negative consequences of that kind of freedom. Depends on what it is.
Do you think the future is going to become more free or less free as our technological improvements and safety require us to take more control?
Less.
That is pretty much
We're already becoming less free.
Yeah, but this might be an anomaly. The thing is, I think
in the scale of things, perhaps.
I think the restrictions that will come in the future are going to be less like totalitarian, authoritarian, and more just things that people wouldn't do anyway. As people progress into the future, it's like software development. Like people build APIs that have more features than the API previously because there's standardization for those new features now, like there wasn't 5 years ago, and gradually more is standardized. People don't like if people want to use other stuff that isn't standardized, they still can. But it's like if something is completely normal, then people are going to do it. Like compare the way that programs are distributed on Windows compared to Android. You've got an entire store on Android. Meanwhile, on Windows, you have to download a literal binary file and run it on your processor.
It's all getting a bit geeky for me there, right? The UK is
you
more
were a game developer, Simon.
Yeah, I know. The UK was also more of a stabbing problem than the US. Yes, it does. Thank you, Caesar's Fist. Hello, Brian. Vanta Black is the world's darkest black dye. It literally absorbs light. A Vanta Black dye cloth looks like a hole in the universe. I haven't seen that.
Doesn't absorb 100%.
Let me have a look.
It's like 99.9 something. It looks really nifty. It's kind of unnatural looking. If you could, you should Google Vanta Black right now just to see what he's talking about. It's really kind of cool.
I
must admit, I kind of want some.
Unironically, it looks like
a bunch of tubes which capture the light.
It looks like something that they forgot to texture.
Yeah, it looks like a Photoshop, where you've just cut someone's face out and it's filled in with black.
Yeah, it does. It looks really cool.
It's wild.
And in the future, rich people will have suits made out of it and be assholes.
Why would that be
that
good?
would look pretty good.
Because it's expensive, and if it's expensive, then they will do that. They will do that.
You'll finally have a suit that Jim won't make fun of.
I don't care about that. Jesus, I
also make fun of it.
I don't care about people making fun of it. I'm just looking at it. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Like,
It's very strange. Very cool, though.
I'm going to find the ultimate material. Look up carbine. It's a single thread of carbon atoms wrapped in 2 tubes of graphene. So it's, in terms of its, I think tensile is the right word, tensile strength, it's the strongest material probably possible. It's basically a diamond thread, but it's probably stronger than diamond. If you make clothes out of this, you could repel any projectile, most likely.
huh. And how much
Very cool.
time
Really
and energy
light as
does
well.
it take to produce one molecule of it? Or whatever?
We can't produce very much just yet,
Yeah.
but it exists.
Okay. Does objective morality / values exist in your guys' opinions? I personally don't think so. What do you guys think?
It's a normal
no.
question. It's subjective
it
as to
is.
whether they're objective. All you're saying, okay, maybe there's a misunderstanding of the terms here. Subjective and objective ontologically is discussing whether things actually exist or whether we simply know about them. Subjective or objective epistemologically or epistemically is describing whether we know that we can't really know this, it's personal, versus we know that there is some objectivity, there's some discernment between feelings and facts, like science. In that sense, you can have you can't really have objective morality in the sense of epistemologically, unless you put caveats. If you put caveats and you define the consensus of the human species, at least those culturally similar to you, as the threshold for objectivity, then yeah. But it takes a bit of redefinition. I think just using the word objective morality is a bad idea.
That was a very good
I
answer.
think that the question in that sense is that no, I don't think it exists in any kind of as some sort of universal truth or anything. What I would say is that what we can do, though, is we can agree upon a set of criteria that we can assess objectively and then work from there.
Yeah, that's exactly my point.
Yeah, it's basically Matt Dillahunty is one of the proponents of that kind of ideas, and it's probably the best that we're going to be able to get in that kind of sense. So let's agree on a set of desired outcomes that we have, and then use that as our objective baseline, essentially, to work towards our rules.
There's a sense in which you can have it because you can. I mean, not in either of the senses I've just described, but you can say that you have an objective morality, and because morality is inherently subjective, you can just say that you do. Like the Christian morality, you could say in some sense it's objective.
You say it's
in the
universal.
epistemological and ontological sense, it's subjective.
Yeah, you would say it is.
You wouldn't call it objective. You call it universalist. Like,
Well,
if we're
no,
just
Christians
using the words
absolutely
objective and
call
subjective.
Christians absolutely call it objective morality. They're wrong, but
Yeah,
that's what they call it.
but that's
They're
because
wrong
it's
if they think
universal.
it's epistemic or ontological.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, like consensus is the closest you're going to get to objectivity in the epistemic sense on morality.
That's what I think. Yeah.
You're only going to get consensus among people who are culturally similar to you. So, good job. If that's what you think is objective, then I don't know what to tell you. That's not a very good definition of objective. Like, if you can... Sam Harris talks about making morality as objective as science. Now, I'm dubious of this concept, but there's definitely some legs to that argument.
No, that's dangerous because then you start predefining yourself as correct, and things you end up going down the route of the SJWs.
You'd essentially have to make the
possible.
system of morality the thing that you consider objective and not the outcomes of morality.
Well, he would factor that in, but I mean, you can't argue that there is an absolute, like, or relative or close to absolute worst state of humanity and a close to absolute best state of humanity. If we take an individual who's in both situations, one is just better than the other, and we can say that's consensus-based.
Well,
Whatever.
again,
it's
it really
about as true as science.
Yeah, but it is literally what we agree on as being better.
Yeah, but I think it's more so than just like everyone's a Christian, so we all think that this is the best way to do it. Like you could make really, really compelling arguments that the best state of a human is better than the worst state of a human, almost on par with physical science.
Yeah, I mean, we can make. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm making the philosophical argument here, not moving into the practical territory yet. I do think it could pose problems for sure, because it will effectively become a religion, and it's a tenet, so you'll be matching your actions to that, and not everyone, even if something is objective, are going to be treating it particularly objectively because they are very subjective. So they're going to take things from it, reinterpret things, and wank it over like Antifa do, but not with objective morality, just with their own subjective morality.
We would all need to have a shared set of axioms, and that's not going to happen.
Well, we wouldn't necessarily have to do that unless we wanted to like employ it as a national standard. But we could use it as a guide.
Well,
we already kind of do anyway, but they don't normally exist outside of morality.
Well, no, think about the one that we use at the moment that everyone's complaining about Antifa with. The shared axiomatic standard that there's no place for violence in a democracy. Well, they don't agree. Like, that's literally something they disagree with.
Yeah, but you're comparing very subjective morality with morality that could, in theory, be close to objective.
And I don't even know if that would be an axiomatic statement, more like the result of principle.
The consequence of axioms. It's
just like saying that people think the Earth is flat, but some people think the Earth is round. Therefore, how can we decide? The idea that Sam Harris has is to apply scientific principles to morality. Again, I'm not necessarily advocating it in practice, but I don't think
what do you mean exactly by scientific principles? What exactly are you listing under that?
Testing, analysis, evidence.
Well, yeah, but the evidence is the problem is that it's predicated on what you consider to be a good outcome, and people with particularly different worldviews will just have different views of what is a good and bad outcome. You
can assume that would be a problem if it's a totalized moral system, but if it's just a set of objective moral principles that define each end, and we use that as a guide, that could certainly be helpful, especially if it's provable by a definition of objective morality that we can all get behind that is scientific.
Give me an example, because usually in these cases you don't actually need to worry about a totalized version, because you'll find contradictions enough before you get to a totalization. So
you won't find a contradiction in the two extremes, in the two poles. I don't think there's anyone in a culture that's anywhere similar to ours, which is what we're interested in here, that would say that the worst imaginable personal situation of a human is comparable in any way to the best imaginable situation of a human.
No, but I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is just the conceptions of the good will end up conflicting with other people's conceptions of the good, even before we get to any, beyond the first couple of principles. So,
I mean, I think you're still talking about the practical benefit, and I'm not close to those arguments. But
no, I'm talking about principally.
Valid.
Principally. Like the sort of like heavily conservative worldview, like a conservative religious worldview, is going to come into massive conflict principally with the worldview of a progressive, because of what they value to be a good outcome.
Okay, I understand you're saying that you're doing it by principle, and I agree, but I think you're telling me that the principles applied in practice will be a problem, but philosophically, I don't think there's a problem.
No, the end goal could be the wrong thing. Before we get anywhere to taking a step towards the end goal, we don't agree that that's a good end goal to get to.
But we're defining it by the standards of science. Again, I'm not saying it could work necessarily in practice and not totally, but science has defined objective end goals as well, and they work. Now, usually that's nature.
Well, like what? Give me an example.
Physics, biology.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they aren't
subjective. Yeah, but give me an example of an end goal that science is pushing towards, like that you should use this process for.
Science is the process.
Yeah, but what's the end goal? Well, what's the end goal that we're going to agree on trying to get there?
They would have to reason out the best evidential, choice. And if you can, in fact, do this by the standards of science, then you can reason out the best objective choice.
Right, but that's just a way of deciding whether the goal is achieved or not.
I mean, you could end up with a situation where people are just deciding.
Well, give me an example of what you mean. Give me an example, because I think I can think of a counterexample.
Well, at the beginning of The Moral Landscape, which I read years ago, Sam Harris gives the two examples of the best of human and the worst of human. I mean, I'm sure you can imagine, I'm sure I don't need to think up exact examples, but you can imagine the worst situation a person has ever been in versus the best situation a person has ever been in. Now, if you disagree that one is better than the other, then I don't think you're really qualified to take part in the discourse. Like, it's so clear at that point for anyone that's human, for anyone that values the reduction of suffering. It's like in science. If you
Yeah, but
damn well
this is
believe in a
all.
flat Earth,
Yeah,
you're
but
not really apt to science.
Yeah, but this is all ideological. That's the thing. What you are saying is your definition of best fits within your ideological paradigm, right? But the thing is, if I'm a Stoic, then I will have a completely different set of axioms on which I look at the world, and what I consider to be the best end case, you could be determining the worst for me, or the progressive. Like, you could say that the best end state for a woman would be wealthy, married, with children, right? And I think a lot of women would agree with that. But to an SJW, that's going to be hell. That's going to be unironic patriarchal domination and exploitation of women's bodies, right? So you can't just say best is the best and the worst is the worst, because you need to define those standards.
Well, no, just that there's a difference between the two.
Well, of course there is, but like
that's it.
But one man's trash is another man's treasure, is what we're saying here. Like, you could be saying this outcome is bad, but there are going to be there are women who supported ISIS. They thought that being under the caliphate was a good thing, whereas there were obviously many more women throwing off their burqas when they were liberated. So,
if you heard Sam Harris's examples of the best and worst, I don't think you'd say that one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Well, it's just factually true.
And again, not everyone has to be accounted for in this system, because not all flat earthers get to take part in, or want to take part in science, or are qualified mentally to take part in science. We already impose a form of, shall we say, hardly reasoned morality upon people already in the law, which is morality mixed with a bit of practicality.
Yeah.
Perhaps all that Sam Harris is suggesting is that it's going to mimic the law, or it's going to seriously inform the that we can work with.
Yeah, but what is reasonable always depends on the standpoint from which you start, and that's the thing. And
Yes.
you've got two wildly and conflicting worldviews that both would consider themselves reasonable under the particular set of beliefs that they're operating. So
It seems like you're arguing that it can't be ontologically objective, which I never said it can be, but it
No,
can be
no.
epistemically objective the same way science can.
yes, but that's not really the concern. The concern is the ontological question.
Well, then I'm not going to defend it, because nothing.
Fair.
We can never know anything ontologically objectively, except maybe
Yes,
that
we can.
existence exists. That might be the root statement that you can make that's ontologically true.
I'm sure that there are
Well, that's
arguments against that as well.
well, no, but that's one of these axioms that we accept, is that the universe exists.
Yeah,
and that
we
can
have to.
learn from
Not
it.
necessarily the universe, just anything.
We,
So,
well,
yeah,
we do
we'll
kind
substitute
of
whatever
have
word
to
you want.
accept that we exist before we can take any action.
Yeah, I'm talking total. I'm talking
Yeah, I know.
philosophically. Though. Like,
I
if
know.
you go right to the root.
I understand that it's not exactly on solid foundations.
And it is a tautology, as people in
Yeah,
the
I
chat
know.
might point out. But that's
Yeah.
the point. Tautologies are by definition true, and this one is at the very root of everything, existence. You can think of something lower than existence. Maybe that can be the one true statement.
Pretty interesting stuff, actually, isn't it?
It's going to be tough because existence is kind of a binary.
Yeah, but thanks Tyler for getting us onto that long conversation. I haven't made a deck or anything. I was planning to. When you have the cultural shifts we have today, religion is a logical choice. Without religion to fill the cultural void, it will be filled with SJWs. I think the concern about the birth rates is legitimate, and I think that religious worldview is a legitimate one for encouraging family life. So if that is a concern, then there's no particular harm in that. But the thing is, all religions are not made equal, in my opinion, and can become increasingly and exceedingly tyrannical. So it's not just something we can just give religion a free pass on. Read Aquinas. I do need to, actually. I just haven't.
People in chat are saying things like, simulation, reality is a lie, no, it's all a hologram. I'm guessing that you're joking, but the fact is, if those are
Because
true,
we're not saying that.
then something under that is still existent. So existence still exists. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty
And
much
even if we were
can-
stuck in a simulation, we all have to abide by the simulation rules anyway. So it wouldn't. It's one of those questions that's kind of meaningless.
It's generally accepted in philosophy that the only thing that you can subjectively be sure of is that you are perceiving. That's generally accepted as a truth. Now, ontologically, we can't be sure of this, but subjectively, we can be. And by that metric, something has to exist.
There hasn't been
Otherwise,
an
we couldn't
English.
perceive.
Yeah, there hasn't been an English king since Harold Godwinson. Not like ethnically English, I guess.
It's tough when you're kind of forced to marry into other royal families. Though.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. It's hardly any kind of purity of blood in the European royal families.
Yeah.
And even then, like, who was Edward the Confessor's wife? Hang on a second.
Wonder they aren't more inbred.
Oh no, did he die without a wife? Who was? Sorry, I'm scared. It's been a long time since I've read about the Saxon kings of England. All right. I mean, yeah,
Me
right.
too.
So that was right. Edward the Confessor's mother was Emma of Normandy, so she was a Viking anyway. So.
Dopamine Coma says pain is bad except for masochists and sadists. Yeah, so I didn't say pain. I said suffering. If a masochist or sadist wants pain, they are suffering when they don't have it. Ah, I see.
Yeah, or at least you wouldn't classify it as suffering if they're doing it willingly and enjoying it.
It's sort of a pretty shallow way to evade the question of whether there can be any sort of objectives to morality. And yeah, it's shallow. You can just define it better so that it captures that problem. I mean, we're not talking about pain. This is not physical pain. That's too specific. We're talking about
and even
things
then,
that we feel is insufficient.
It might be desirable, yeah.
Yeah, and even then, you're working towards what you perceive as an ultimate goal.
Yeah. But I think
I mean, they're getting pleasure from the pain as well, so it might even balance out, and you get a net increase.
But it's not just that. I mean, like if you go to the gym and you start, you end up hurting yourself through working out, but it's still it's you get satisfaction out of it at the end. So
yeah, you get
I think
benefits.
Happiness and suffering is the axis that's most defensible there.
Happiness might not be the best one because then you get the like drugged up dopamine morphine future.
I don't know if you consider that to be happy though.
Well,
it makes you feel happy.
Yeah, I
Schadenfreude is real.
I think the way that Sam Harris defines it, and I agree, is that we just define it as not wanting suffering because not everyone would be better off just being happy.
Okay, so I agree with you, and I'm happy to accept this framing, right? I agree with you, and I'm happy to accept that framing, right? I can, I don't know, satisfaction or something is maybe a better thing to strive for more universally, but
I wouldn't even say that.
Well, the thing is about suffering, though. I think that there are times and places in people's lives where people do want to suffer. I think they indulge it.
Sure, then let's say long-term suffering. We can't say at the time whether it's right for someone, but if they suffer and that makes them a better person, then overall in the long term, that was objectively better for them.
I don't know. It seems a bit ad hoc.
I'm defending it philosophically, but not necessarily practically, because we shouldn't just jump in when someone's suffering and say, that's bad, we're going to give you some money and some fucking drugs. Like, that's obviously not the way to do things.
Yeah, but
for many reasons.
It sounds a bit
This is why they're called moral dilemmas.
Yeah, it is. But it's, saying it's just long-term suffering. I think a better, it sounds more like oppression, what you're describing there.
It could be, but I think oppression's a bit more specific. I think suffering refers more to individuals than oppression does to collectives.
No, oppression only applies to individuals. Cruel or unjust treatment.
Well, then it's usually used to apply to many individuals.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Well, then we could use the same word. We might find it means the same thing if we really, drilled it down.
I'm so glad V's not here.
Nah, he'd be great at this. On the matter of you said satisfaction, I think, again, if we had to drill down the word, we would find just too much imprecision there. We would have to get something more specific.
I think it would really depend. Like, I think that you wouldn't define satisfaction in purely terms of base input. I think satisfaction is something that has to happen over a prolonged period of time.
I think Jordan Peterson might argue here that it's suffering versus meaning.
Yeah.
That's kind of appealing to our evolutionary past because we get meaning when we're advancing as organisms. That's my conjecture anyway. But I think it's fine to just have a negative value to move away from, which is suffering.
For some reason,
positive value necessarily.
Yeah, but I feel inclined to suggest that meaning is not the end goal. I think I do think that you could define satisfaction as the end goal and fulfilling a meaning as being the path to that.
Depends on what I guess each individual would define as satisfactory. The satisfactory fulfillment of that meaning.
Yeah, but it wouldn't matter that there's subjectivity in common usage. We drill it down to get an objective definition.
We'd define it ourselves.
A word that aligns. Yeah, we want to pick a word that aligns best with what that meaning ends up being.
Yeah.
Satisfaction might be okay as long as we clearly define it.
Yeah, I think if we clearly define it, I think satisfaction is actually a really good word for this, because it can be flexibly used to literally anyone's particular axiomatic view. You know,
It's certainly one of the better options. Yeah,
because you'll get to define what you find satisfying, and then Christian rugby superstar Israel Folau lost his job because of his views on Jesus, because of Jesus' views on gays. If he hated them, he wouldn't be telling them to repent. Christian phobia. I've only seen the headlines for this.
I don't even agree with that. I'd say if you could just as easily say if he loved the gays, he'd be telling them to repent because he doesn't want them to suffer in hell.
Well, now we need V. It's compassionate.
Well, no, I mean that's a legitimate stance to take as a Christian. It's like I love the gays. I don't want them to suffer for eternity. I want them to repent from their evil ways.
Hence, Sam Widdicombe wants science to find a cure for the gay, which she unironically does.
I suggest that you mod a few people in chat because there's a lot of the porn spam.
Oh, I do apologise, chaps.
I'll give you some recommendations if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
Eccentric Trippery, he's been in my chat a lot. He seems like a decent guy. What's we got?
Okay.
Daka, if you scroll up a bit.
Yeah, okay. Right, I've made these guys moderators. Right, let me get through these, and I'm going to end the stream anyway. Yeah, the Israel Folau thing. I'm not surprised he's lost his job at all. That's exactly what I'd expect to happen in the current environment. I mean, I don't see why someone's view on anything is a cause for them to be fired. You know, I think they would have to do something, in my opinion, for them to actually deserve being fired. I think we should base things on behavior rather than beliefs, because then we're into thought policing, and I don't think that's a good idea. What do you guys reckon?
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I see why people don't want that, but a lot of that seems to be built around the idea that there are people who feel uncomfortable with the things that he thinks and not the things that he actively engages in the real world, which is really honestly more on them than on him.
Yeah.
Terribly sorry, I was focusing on the chat. I missed the question.
Should people be fired for the things they believe or the things they do, basically?
The things they do, like,
yeah,
it's thought crime on a private level, but still, it's the same principle. To fire people for what they believe. As long as they're not acting on it, if it really is evil, if they're not acting on it, there's literally no problem. It's just purity testing.
Yeah, that is it. Thoughts be gone, yes. Lots of very low IQ, very moral low IQ people still spells doom. If intelligence goes away, our farming distribution technology goes away. Life will soon turn hellish. Well, yes, obviously we're going to continually try to improve the intelligence of the people in our society through education and whatnot.
Yes, it's good that society has smart people. We agree.
There are upsides and downsides.
Being a parent is morally reprehensible. Changed my mind. I don't agree.
Actually, this is an interesting philosophical quandary, as if we hadn't had enough of those today.
Yeah, go on.
Hooray.
I met someone a while ago who was a anti-natalist. You guys heard of this?
Well, yeah.
Against,
maybe the concept, just not the name.
Yeah.
He's against the procreation of new generations of humanity. He's against procreation in general. Now, he actually has, and I'm going to say it, a fairly moral position here, because he doesn't say people should be killed. He doesn't say people should be
Good start.
like the baby should be aborted or anything like that.
Good start.
He doesn't have any
Baby should be aborted.
positions
You know
here.
what? I'm not going to take that one.
So he's a moderate. All right.
Yeah.
But well, he's not a moderate, for fuck's sake. But he does believe that in order to reduce suffering the most, we should just end humanity.
Well, I suppose
If there's
would
no one,
reduce
if there's
suffering
no
the
one to
most.
suffer, then there's no suffering. Yeah.
That's just the ultimate absurdist utilitarian argument.
It is.
That's a roll eyes thing I hear.
But the thing is, within the frame of that logic, you can't argue against it.
Well, great.
Yes,
You have
we
to
agree that
convince
if there's
him.
no one around to suffer, there will be no suffering.
Yeah.
You have to convince him in the driest logical terms that there is a benefit to humanity existing. And in the driest logical terms, there isn't really.
In the driest logical terms, I
Well,
have better things to
It
do.
depends what your standards are. Our standards are inevitably for humans, so humanity existing is a prerequisite.
And that's not really... I mean, as I said, if you meet him on his terms, then you can't argue against it. But what you've done is change the term slightly, which is fine. I don't disagree.
It's a presupposition I have when I'm talking about being a human.
Yes. It's a presupposition almost fucking everyone has. But
yes,
what I'm saying is it's ultimately it's logical.
Although
it's just not right.
You say that in the debate I did with Destiny and Hassan Piker. I was literally like, well, do we have a moral obligation to continue the species? And they were just like, no, I don't know. It's like, oh, fucking, really? Like, you don't think there's some imperative there? Like, it's worth continuing our species?
I doubt they were saying that from the position of antinatalism. I would suggest that they were saying that from the position of being completely used to accepting as an axiom that humanity should exist, but never actually asking themselves whether they believe it.
Yeah, so do they have to do anything because of that? And the thing is, Destiny's a father. Destiny has a son. So
remember,
kid.
in chat, if you're ever wondering if you can score with a girl, Destiny has procreated, so you're good.
Yeah, all the insults. Look, guys, just wait. You know, your time will come.
Reach? That's the real question.
Yeah, but like, what's his kid's gonna be like? Oh, right. So, Dad, do you think you did an immoral thing for having a kid? He's like, well, I don't know. I haven't come to a decision.
Well, I would say that. I mean,
Thanks, Dad.
I could understand someone saying that existence it's outside of morality.
Sure.
But even then, that's like okay, fine. I'd rather exist than not. Like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, yeah, but the antinatalist I was talking to was saying, like, we wouldn't do anything to the current existent humans. They can survive, whatever. But in the future, we should stop breeding.
Yeah, but even then,
So
why
he didn't
should
have an
we?
evil position. It was just drastically utilitarian.
What was behind the should? Is it just to end the concept of suffering by ending human beings?
Well, he was
I don't necessarily
himself. So I can understand him seeing humanity, like human life, as mostly suffering.
He's probably great at parties.
I'm not even sure that suffering is necessarily in and of itself like inherently bad.
Depends how you define it. If you're defining it to allow for suffering in the short term to achieve something better in the long term,
well, yeah.
Then you could argue that shouldn't be defined as suffering. You could argue that over the long term that could be defined as a net positive, and therefore it was never suffering.
No, but imagine meeting someone who had just never suffered. Nothing
That's
bad
not possible,
had happened.
though.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's not impossible. But B, imagine if you did. It would be someone who was like so naively childlike in absolutely everything that it would be insufferable. You'd be like,
no,
you know,
I would have. Think it's possible.
Well, yeah, but assuming that somehow this happened, you didn't have to explain it. It just, it just had, right? Like it wouldn't be someone that you would actually recognize as like an empathetic human being. Like they wouldn't understand you. Yeah, they wouldn't understand.
A UBI slave.
Yeah, well, yeah, they would not understand what your life was like to suffer, and so you couldn't really explain to them like a huge range of the human condition. They just wouldn't understand it. They'd read this literature and be like, why is this a thing? You know?
This is exactly the kind of thing that me and the people that were arguing against him at the time were saying. But his argument was always, I just think that there's more suffering than not in human life.
Well,
and if you accept that as your axiom, like, as I say, if you approach him on his own terms, you can't win. Because if you accept that as the axiom, which I don't.
Yeah, I don't accept that. What am I saying?
Yeah. But then, of course, you have to argue with him on different terms and say you're not going to convince him.
Yeah, but who cares? So what if there was? I would still think it would be better to exist for the parts of life that weren't suffering.
Exactly,
and I would call him out on that and say, how have you determined this? How have you quantified this? I don't think you have any way of doing this. This is just a position that you've adopted irrationally.
Yeah. And he probably would point to some utilitarian objective, maybe research or data that would show it. Maybe he would simply appeal to it's obvious, bro. But
it's obvious.
I would expect
clearly
better
not because we're in a disagreement.
No, I would expect better than it's obvious, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's been years since I talked to him. I can't remember the finer points, but these people do exist. And
I'm sure once he gets out of the third grade, joins the rest of us.
Well, he seems to be a very dark person.
Yeah, I know. Some people are just...
All right, here we go.
Very
time and the misanthrope arrives, yeah.
He was very depressed. Very on the edge of society. Probably browse R9K all the time.
R9K?
It's the incel/neat board of 4chan.
Really? Where does R9K come from?
Most of 4chan was created for like people to post family pictures back in the day.
I didn't know that.
So a lot of the boards are not named very logically. I mean, I think that's right. Yeah. I don't know much about the history of 4chan, but that's my impression. So R9K refers to robotics or like robots or something. That's what they call themselves.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, if they refer to themselves, okay, I can see why they'd call themselves that.
It's a dark place, but there is some interesting stuff there. If you can
Puts a smile
become
on my
immune to
face.
the opinions they have, the silly opinions, because these are
Oh,
people
yeah.
that have lost any attachment to meaning in life. They are the kind of people who would tend more and more and more towards a nihilist utilitarian perspective, which does not help you as a human to progress.
No, I feel immense pity for those kinds of people. I'm
Yeah,
really sad
me
for
too.
people like that. That's a terrible thing.
The best advice I could give them is, against your instinct, change your axioms. Assume something has meaning. Assume something that a lot of people consider worthwhile is worthwhile for you too, even if you don't know if it's true, and just go for it. Like, this is advice I probably should give myself, but...
I mean, if nothing has meaning, then why have any position on anything?
Why do you
Especially
think
one
I'm
so
doing
strong?
anything that I'm doing? I'm just like, I'll just choose
and
these
there's
axioms and then do some stuff.
And there's a lot of threads about suicide on there.
Oh, that's good news.
No.
Yeah, it's really sad, but these people
It
are
is
probably
really
always
sad.
going to exist. It's unfortunate, as much as this is horrible to say, humanity, I think suicide is a evolutionary adaptation. I think when people are or feel themselves to be or are in fact a detriment to society overall, that's the mechanism that kicks in suicide. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist in our
Maybe.
species. I mean, individually, there's no benefit to it, but there's loads of things that have been evolved in humans that have a collective benefit, even though they have an individual great deficit. And that's why I'm not just an individualist.
I don't think that I would necessarily say that suicide is some kind of evolutionary adaptation or anything like that. This is just a rational choice.
This is an interesting philosophical discussion, then.
It is, but it's really late, and I really want to.
Yeah, it could be a flaw. It could be a fluke that we haven't.
Well, no, this
corrected,
is a rational choice that a sentient creature makes.
I don't think it's ever rational to commit suicide unless you're in constant physical pain.
Of course, it can be rational.
I think it can be rationalized,
Yeah, but that makes it a rational choice.
but I don't think it's necessarily rational.
Well, no, I mean, there are lots of rational reasons to commit suicide. If you've been told that you've got cancer and you've got 1 week to live and it's going to get incredibly painful, or you could just kill yourself with, dopamine drugs or whatever now, why not?
As I said, when it could be called euthanasia, that is understandable because that is actually a rational choice to avoid pain when you know you're going to die sooner. That's understandable. But when it's because of emotional reasons, that I think can't be justified rationally. It's an evolutionary adaptation. You wouldn't if you didn't need suicide in a species. I don't think it would have evolved. You don't get flukes that end up killing loads of people in
What if it wasn't about euthanasia?
No.
What if you were a slave? I mean, you weren't going to be killed, but did you want to live like that?
I don't know. Evolution
there's a lot of physical
evolution
pain in
just
that.
goes where it
Well,
goes.
no, not
It-
necessarily. Like you're not
is
necessarily being worked to death or anything, but it just might not be worth living like a slave.
Well, I think you can't make a rational argument for that. I think it's always worth living because it could be tomorrow that you're liberated.
Yeah, but that just seems like it could be ridiculous hope. Like, I mean, slavery existed for thousands of years, and I bet there are loads of slaves who decided to kill themselves rather than live like slaves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not worth
and
being alive if you're going to be a slave.
perhaps there are some things that could be considered outside of physical pain then, but I think it has to be extreme.
Well, slavery is pretty extreme in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not
Especially if it
disagreeing
seems to
with
be
you.
unending and you're in a very poor country
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, well, if you're in the Roman Empire or something, you don't, who knows? If you're in like the first century or something, the Roman, you don't know, but the Roman Empire isn't due to collapse for another 300 years or something. Like, it's like, well, for fuck's sake. But anyway, don't send any more super chats, please, chaps, because I want to get through them all, and I do need to go to bed. 'Cause I've got a
Send them to
flight
my
to catch.
Streamlabs instead.
Yeah. Have I looked into drill rappers in London getting prosecuted for songs? Yep, it is a major free speech violation. I have spoken about it a few years ago when it happened. But it's probably happening since. But it's just, this is one of those things that happens now. And the thing is, I really don't like drill music either, but obviously it's not the music that's the problem. Societal collapse will crush progressives. Yes, it will. Edward the Confessor's wife was Edith of Essex. They were my 33rd great aunt and uncle. We've fallen a long way since the last 1,000 years. Man, you really have. Freedom has to be an axiom, even the freedom to act like you have no freedom, but not at the expense of others' free will. The Sharia Brigade disagree. Well, aren't you a Jacobite like me? Exactly. Damn, Oozler is here. Saga must be cool or something. I am. Animals exist. without
He's
humans, they're
my
still
gay
something.
stalker.
Yep. So that's right. We have to genocide the animals first for their own good to end their suffering, and then effectively just wipe out all life in the universe. To not understand suffering.
The Crickens.
The thing is, no, we're going to have to make sure that none comes along afterwards, right? So what we'll have to do is create a series of self-replicating robots that can effectively take over the universe and extinguish all life just as it's evolving, with the sole mission of wiping out all life to make sure
Mass Effect this bitch.
to make sure there's
It's
zero
like the Halo
suffering.
approach.
Yeah,
It's like the Halo approach. Kill everything in the universe so the flood can't feed.
exactly. It's literally we've solved the problem.
It's a little bit too utilitarian.
Look, that
Just a little
if
bit.
it's the only way to end racism, okay?
That's true.
I think my antinatalist friend would look at the Halo storyline and be like, yeah, that's a good idea.
To not understand suffering is to not realize meaning. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, and to clarify, I'm not saying that suffering is always bad. Of course, there are ways of interpreting it where suffering is a good thing. It leads to you improving. I am one of the strongest advocates for saying that. The adversity builds character. You need
More
adversity.
suffering, Oozaloo 2020.
Yeah, meaningful suffering. What you don't want is meaningless suffering.
Meaningful suffering for the party.
Yeah, with just a picture of a guy flagellating himself. Meaningful suffering, vote Oozaloo 2020.
Listen, that sounds pretty meaningless to me. It depends though, like if you're particularly religious and if it does something for you, if it genuinely improves your character, improves your resolve or something like that, then maybe that is for the best. Again,
exactly.
it's what you were saying with the long-term
I gotta
benefit.
take a break. I'll be right back.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna stop the stream now because it is quite late now, and I do have a plane to catch tomorrow. Fucking hell, it's late. Shit, I didn't realize how late it was because I wasn't looking at the time. Right. Speak to you later, everyone. Bye.